everything they are and everything that they've become.
Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's 1984 creation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has delighted fans for the past 30 years. The TMT was initially developed as a parody of the grimy, gloomy superhero comics of the 1980s. However, because of the astronomical success of the Saturday morning animated series, it ended up being one of the biggest children's franchises of the decade. With various comic books, hundreds of toys, and 3 full-length movies, the Ninja Turtles reigned in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The TV show was revived in 2003, when the initial excitement subsided, and a 4th movie was released in 2007. When Nickelodeon premiered a brand new CGI animation and revealed that a renewed film series was in development, the Turtles' fame was once again revived in 2012. Everyone is acquainted with the saga of the Ninja Turtles, wherein a rat, or a human, based on the version, and 4 domesticated turtles are converted into humanoids by an extraterrestrial neurotoxin. Michelangelo, Leonardo, Raphael, and Donatello, all of them named after the renowned Renaissance artists, train in ninjutsu for their sensei, Master Splinter, and safeguard New York City from the extraterrestrial invaders, the Vicious Foot Clan, as well as other mutants' purpose of hurting innocent inhabitants. As we've discussed various characters from the TMNT universe on our channel, we'll explore the top 100 TMNT characters of all time in our video today. So, let's dig in. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Enough! Back off, Raph!
Leonardo. One of the 4 major characters in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a member of the TMNT is Leonardo, also known as Leo. He's the older brother of Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo, the younger adopted brother of the Karai, and the eldest son of Master Splinter. He serves as the group's leader due to his serious nature and commanding personality. The most significant cause of aggravation in Leo's life is the disparity between his goals and circumstances. The most motivated out of all the 4 turtles, he trains and studies non-stop. Although he has a tendency to be harsh on himself, his attentiveness is noted. He is Splinter's preferred student, and he desperately wants Splinter's praise. Leo is a mutant turtle of emerald green color featuring sapphire blue eyes. Leo's physical appearance is largely unchanged from all of his prior incarnations, except that his emerald skin is a little bit darker compared to the others. This is similar to Raph. In most media, he's frequently shown with twin katanas and donning a blue bandana. He's an expert swordsman and martial artist. He's a mostly well-balanced ninja who's quite good in defense and counterattacks. He's a turtle, yet he's not slow. He can move swiftly enough to escape a Crang weapon's laser blast. He woke up 3 months after the evil fight with severe injuries, but his healing factor seemed to operate in the sea. He's the greatest at developing strategy and has a strong line of defense. Splinter showed him how to utilize a particular method of ninjutsu to cure himself and others. Raphael. Of the 4 brothers, Raphael is by far the most aggressive. He's a pure brawler who has no time for things like subtlety, lurking in the shadows, or controlling his voice. He's deeply devoted to his brothers, yet he's also frequently the one tormenting them. Raph is also the person who's most likely to go it alone when he feels wronged or undervalued. Spike, his pet turtle, was his closest confidant. Raphael's temper may get the best of him and put him in dangerous circumstances. He's the second child of Master Splinter and the younger brother of Leo and Karai through adoption, and Michelangelo and Donatello's older brother. He is the team's muscle. Raphael does have a tender side despite all of this. He's a really kind man who adores his brothers and sensei, despite the fact that he would never confess it. He'd sacrifice anything to keep them safe, but in order to maintain his hardcore persona and to preserve his pride, he'd never confess it. He's quite agile and balanced as well, much like his brothers. In addition to being able to move faster and more effortlessly in constrained spaces, he can leap higher and farther than a human. He can hoist opponents above his head, since he's the group's strongest fighter. Raph typically wields sai in the fist, like sharpened stabbing blades. As evidenced by the fact that he sustained harm from his enemies and several wounds, he was able to recover considerably more quickly than the typical human.
Special delivery!
Michelangelo. Physically the tiniest and least developed turtle, Mikey is excited about pretty much anything and is easily sidetracked. His creativity and inability to concentrate combine to give him a unique sense of flow, which the other turtles can't match. He's also quite imaginative. One of his many ideas will occasionally be fantastic. He's a social mutant who longs for the outside world more than the others. He's the youngest male child of Master Splinter and the youngest sibling of Leonardo, Karai, Raphael, and Donatello. He is the group's wild one. Michelangelo is the cheeriest and most upbeat, having a more innocent perspective than his siblings. In most media, a pair of nunchucks serves as his primary weapon. Mikey frequently appears with an orange mask on. Although Mike is the most nimble of his brothers, his ninja training helps to balance and enhance this, and his expertise in skating and dance also gives Mike a competitive edge that frequently surprises his brothers. He successfully demonstrated the proper use of ninjutsu for Napoleon, who might not be the greatest Ninja Turtle for applying logic appropriately to situations as his siblings did. However, he still demonstrates his ability to instruct others in effective combat. His strength is also changed because typical turtles can lift 5 times their own weight. He can run far more quickly than an average athlete. He's also quite stealthy, although he dislikes it when it's used against him. Even though his brothers don't really believe his food tastes fantastic, Mikey enjoys it. He clearly loves to prepare meals for his family. He also uses his wit to outwit the actual geniuses and mutant squirrels in Dimension X. As a result of Mikey's ninja training, he can resist punches and blows from enemies that would ordinarily render a person unconscious, exhibiting his tough physique. He calls himself the king of practical jokes.
Ninja smoke bombs!
Donatello. The team's inventor and weaponeer is Donatello. He builds everything of their technology, from the smallest bow staff to their magnificent vehicles. He's so talented that he can create amazing things out of materials that he's actually rescued from a rubbish dump. He's a meticulous perfectionist who frequently gets frustrated when his brothers are unable to compete with him intellectually. But Donnie is also the turtle who is the most socially uncomfortable and alone, particularly when April is nearby. He is indeed the tallest turtle, April ONeil's closest buddy, Karai's younger adopted brother, Leonardo and Raph's younger brother, and Michelangelo's older brother. He is the team's brains. He typically carries a bow staff and wears a purple bandana. Donnie has certain shortcomings. While not prone to frequent outbursts of rage like Raph, he's anxious, restless under pressure, and quickly irritated. He's nevertheless prone to losing his temper, specifically when technology malfunctions or performs poorly. He's also incredibly loving and passionate. He's a skilled ninja and incredibly agile, with the ability to leap across roofs and fend off enemy strikes. He's also capable of spinning his bow staff and moving other objects at accelerated speeds. He's so brilliant that he can solve difficult equations in his mind, build various devices, and manage the synthesis of drugs and other chemical substances. Donatello is also an expert in strategy and acts as Leonardo's strategist on many of the most challenging and intricate missions. While practicing the pulverizer, Donatello shows off his endurance well. He was able to sustain severe injuries from many attacks by mutants like Dog Pound, Dr. Tyler Rockwell, and Slash while continuing to battle.
You're the owner?
Splinter. The Ninja Turtles' mentor and adopted father is Master Splinter. Although he taught the Turtles the technique of ninjutsu, they'd not yet attained the level of Master Ninja. Splinter is responsible, aggressive, and mature. He fights with several ninja techniques and a variety of ninja weapons. Any evil who wants to hurt his boys must first go through him. Hamato Yoshi, a member of the Hamatos, a clan of peacekeeper ninjas, was born in 1962 in Osaka, Japan. Before taking over his father's position as clan chief, Hamato Yoshi enrolled at a martial arts school. Only Yoshi's adopted brother, Orokusaki, was initially a member of the exterminated enemy clan, the Foot. Orokusaki could match his talents. Orokusaki was also a fellow student. He occasionally appears as a mutant or reborn version of Hamato Yoshi, while other times he appears as Hamato Splinter, Yoshi's pet rat. He was a renowned and strong ninjutsu expert while still a human. When he was very young, he began practicing for his entire life. He's more skilled than any athlete and possesses remarkable qualities, including strength, agility, stamina, speed, and endurance. Splinter is smart, swift, and strong, since he's a master of ninjutsu. Like a sword, his jaws have the strength to sever several types of metal, like Shredder's weapon. Given that he spent 15 years training his 4 boys, he's a terrific teacher to anyone who would like to train. He's adept at spotting approaching enemies. Either his enhanced hearing is from the mutation, or it's because of his balanced mind. He most likely has night vision, as other rats do. Splinter has demonstrated his proficiency with the use of several weapons in addition to his ability to master any nearby weaponry, even magazines. In terms of his combat prowess, he can think of methods for his boys to flee when they're being held tightly by their adversaries by causing them to lose focus, as demonstrated by the fact that he could defeat Raph's strength by licking him. He could withstand the mind-controlled Slash Mace's assault. Shredder. One of the primary villains in the 2012 television series Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is Shredder. He was a prodigy of ninjutsu, Splinter, and the Turtles' archenemy Karai's previous adoptive father, and the brave head of the Foot Clan. In the episode City at War, Shredder had transformed into the super mutant known as the Super Shredder after fully recovering from his rehabilitation. As Super Shredder, Saki continued to avenge himself by killing his adversary once and for all. He'd eventually run into the Turtles, whom he would swat aside while fighting Leonardo, who confronted him in a bloody struggle that resulted in Shredder dying at their hands. Shredder is the evil Foot Clan's deadly steel devil. He's vicious, callous, and just concerned about himself. He appears dangerous to attack since he's covered with razor blades. He is trained for years and mastered banned ninjutsu arts, making him a maestro of ninjutsu with abilities well beyond those of most ordinary ninjas. Even Splinter was taken aback by a forbidden technique that Shredder is familiar with since it's so cunning and powerful. His skills are extremely extraordinary. He's demonstrated his incredible strength by lifting Splinter's body weight with only one arm, demonstrating that he's considerably stronger than the typical individual. Despite his size, he's shown to be far quicker than all of the Turtles and is possibly even faster than Splinter. He's extremely sly and can easily surprise adversaries. His arsenal consists of 2 razor-sharp claws around each of his arms, one of which has a slide-out weapon in the middle. Considering that his former buddy Master Splinter is teaching ninjas, he's highly intelligent. He used his financial expertise to turn the Foot Clan from an outdated, defunct ninja gang into a global criminal enterprise. Even if he is 50 years of age, he has sufficient energy and endurance to hold his own against Leatherhead's jaw power. The armor he's wearing may help his body withstand more strikes.
Turtle soup tonight!
Dragon Lord. The Dragon Lord, often referred to as Dragon Skull, is the Dragon Kingdom's ruler and the nemesis of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The major enemy of the live-action television series Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, this character was specially made for it. The dragons, who were formerly imprisoned in another dimension, are ruled by the Dragon Lord. He managed to escape from the magical glass where he and his rank soldiers were imprisoned. He'd risen to recover what was once his. After being set free, he and his horde set out to rule the world, which led to clashes with the Turtles. He wants to eliminate the Turtles first so he may carry out his schemes unhindered. He expands his headquarters there in New York. The Dragon Lord is still awed by simple things like broomsticks and doesn't fully comprehend several of the marvels of the outer world. He's astounded to see turtles strolling around and desires to ingest the same substances that turn them into mutants in the expectation that doing so will endow him with superhuman strength. Even the slightest things, like being corrected, can easily set him off. He has Dr. Queez, a crazy scientist, on his side as an ally and intends to utilize his expertise for his own ends. Wick, the small dragon, serves as his personal buddy. He was an exceptional leader and a master of the sword. Dragon Lord has a ponytail and a red coat, giving him a Genghis Khan-like visage. His quick responses and sense of humor stand out in juxtaposition to his negative attitude the most. In addition to having a totalitarian attitude, he also lacks knowledge of modern culture and technology. For instance, he has no concept of what radios or clones are.
Stop! Won't let you hurt him! I'm not here to...
Slash. Raphael's mutant pet turtle was named Spike. He got exposed to some ooze in Slash and Destroy and picked up the name Slash. From a cute pet turtle to a vicious turtle warrior. Slash, who was developed for the Archie Comics continuity, is a sometimes villainous mutant, or extraterrestrial, turtle that occasionally joins forces with either the mighty Mutanimals or the Foot Clan. He goes by the name Slash and is a bully who is powerful and brutal. He has a good heart within, though, and doesn't want to injure innocent people. He even works with Leatherhead, Pigeon Pete, and Rockwell to defend Manhattan. Slash believes that leaving his siblings behind will make Raphael feel entirely free, so he attempts to persuade him to do so. When he declines, Slash turns from a buddy to an enemy. Later on, Slash begins to rethink his opinion of the Turtles after seeing how significant Raphael's siblings are to his old owner. He forms the mighty Mutanimals alongside their companions to defend the city from the Crang. He's stronger and more agile than all of the Ninja Turtles, and although his motives are less noble, he has a spiky shell and a piercing beak. He has exceptional vocal mimicry skills, enhanced smell, and enhanced strength.
Let's begin.
I am Dreg, Supreme Warlord of the Seven Galaxies.
Lord Dreg. The 4th season introduces the Turtles' insectoid adversary, Lord Vringath Dreg, who was voiced by the Swedish actor Peter Stormare. Lord Vringath Dreg, the terrifying 4-armed ruler of planet Sectoid, rules over all insect life in the cosmos. He's the galaxy's most ruthless alien criminal and possesses the combat prowess to prove it. Lord Dreg is indeed one king that should not be messed with. He has a face full of fangs, hands that spew webs like spiders, rogue followers, and a fighting mode that gives him an electro blaster, combat mask, and chest rocket. Lord Dreg has a new mission: to wipe out the Turtles after they committed the error of opposing him and slaying several of his rogue minions. He's shown as having bug-filled purple skin, 4 yellow eyes, a green jewel or object on his chest, emerald circles on his knuckles, horns on his head, and an insect tail. If Carter had not intervened, Lord Dreg would have destroyed them several times, even during their earliest fights. In reality, Carter routinely collaborates with the Turtles to manage a substantial percentage of Dreg's combat. Dreg was able to catch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the end of the series, beat them, as well as keep an eye on Shredder and Crang, the prior adversaries, by depleting their energy. Dreg is a genius. He's fast to formulate grand schemes and is cunning and determined.
No, I am Shinobi.
You're a full-fledged mutant hottie.
Do not call me mutant.
Venus de Milo. Venus de Milo was the fifth turtle to be affected by the neurotoxin that had transformed the rest of the turtles. However, she was washed away in the gutters of Chinatown in New York City. Chang-ai, a Chinese shinobi instructor, discovered her there. Chang-ai raised her for 18 years and took her back all the way to his birthplace of Shanghai, China, where he taught her the shinobi method. The fearsome Dragon Lord and his followers were imprisoned inside a magical mirror that belonged to Chang-ai. When the dragons invaded the dream world, they attacked Chang-ai, the designated keeper of this mirror. Chang-ai was severely wounded in his sleep, and Splinter Soul was taken captive. Mai Pai Chi visited New York, where she got to know the other turtles. After removing the Shredder identity from Oroku Saki's head with the shinobi powers, she proceeded to the Realm of Illusions to recover Splinter's spirit. By doing this, she unintentionally provided the dragons with a route into the real world. Venus was all by herself in Central Park when the Dragon Lord, along with his henchmen, launched their initial assault. A female statue's head was severed during the battle. 20 minutes later, Raphael arrived to assist her. The statue's skull was brought to the turtles' den, and the male turtles used it as the basis for their moniker for her. Venus was endowed with certain esoteric Qi magic skills. Thus, it's possible that Chang-ai was a supporter of Qi-related mysticism. It could possibly be a reference to Turtle's ability to breathe in both water and air, which makes them somewhat amphibious. Her bandana's color is cyan, a much paler blue than Leonardo's. It has a ponytail-like braid on the back. She's smaller, leaner, more athletic, and skinnier than the rest of the turtles, who are often stocky and hefty because she belongs to a different gender. Her plastron is designed so that the front features circular protrusions that resemble breasts on the bottom. Ninjara. Umiko is a vixen fox who was formerly a member of a long-extinct race of foxes that resembled humans and lived on a secret island off the shore of Japan. Umiko is her true name, although she prefers to go by the moniker Ninjara for reasons that have never been completely explained. Ninjara moved into the Ninja Turtles' underground base in the sewers of New York City after joining them. She served as Raph's living girlfriend for a while in the Archie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book series. In issue number 28, Ninjara first debuted. She eventually turned into a robber and killer for the evil dogman called Khan. However, after meeting the Turtles, she changed her mind. She closely collaborated with Khan and assisted him in capturing the warrior dragon. Since Ninjara doesn't appear to be fundamentally malevolent, it's still unknown why she did this. Since aiding in the destruction of Khan and his demons, she's been traveling with the Turtles. She was a strong team player from issue number 29 until issue number 70. Since Ninjara realized she wasn't anymore in love with Raphael and wanted to live in Mokoshan's community, the chief of an Alaskan tribe of human-like wolves, their romance ended during the Moon Eyes saga due to personal issues. According to legend, Ninjara is the finest thief in all of Japan. She's a powerful swordswoman who possesses remarkable martial arts talent. In terms of stealth and combat skills, she's on par with, or almost on par with, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She can easily scale the walls that are sheer her. She also possesses the fox vixen sense of the animal world.
Playtime is over!
Crang. One of the main enemies of this series is the demonic Dimension X natives known as the Crang. They're driven by Crang Prime, their leader, and determined to colonize Earth and render it livable for them in order to hide from the Triceratons, their most dreaded adversary. The extra-dimensional enemies of Earth are who they are. Although they attempt to communicate in human tones, they frequently use unnecessary words. They're vicious, dangerous, and typically seen with their laser rifles drawn while wearing either Norman costumes or Crang droids. These extraterrestrials wouldn't stop until they had control of Earth. Multi-tentacled brain creatures known as the Crang colonized Earth millennia ago after migrating there from another dimension. The mutagen ooze they brought from their original dimension doesn't operate as they expected it to, because our world's physical rules are different from theirs. Since then, they've been abducting scientists to assist them in modifying it. The Crang caused the Turtles and Splinter's mutation, and it's been made clear. The Crang exhale a poisonous vapor that's harmful to human beings and other life forms on Earth. They pilot anthropomorphic androids with cockpits embedded into their abdomens, as their natural bodies are frail and fragile. When they have to go out in public, they hide their robotic bodies under human-like veneers that give them the appearance of identical men, wearing sharp black suits and having expressionless faces. It's first revealed that the Crang has modified their robotic bodies with jetpacks, enabling them to fly in the episode The Pulverizer. The Crang have been observed driving very small, swift hovercrafts, outfitted with energy weapons inside the TRCI structure. Casey Jones. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Casey Jones made his television debut in the second season. He's a teenage vigilante who always carries numerous hockey clubs and wears a hockey mask. He was also kept back and is a sophomore in high school along with April. He and Raphael are frequent rivals and closest friends, and he frequently has love entanglements with April ONeil. Casey was assigned to be taught by April ONeil since he's been failing horribly in high school and needs to keep playing hockey. Casey was born to an ex-NHL player in 1995 back in New York City. April first has her doubts about him, especially given his clumsiness. She began to open herself to Casey though, and started to cherish being in his company when the two of them joined forces to fight Mutagen Man and a group of robot foot soldiers. Since then, Casey has unquestionably sided with the Turtles, although he still feels uneasy with Splinter. Teenager Casey Jones has long black hair, a slim body, and brown eyes that are occasionally misrepresented as blue. Due to hockey, 3 of his top front teeth are lost. He's dressed in fingerless gloves, a black bandana, and black pants. He dons a hockey mask when dressed in his crime-fighting gear, revealing his painted face, which is designed to seem like a skull. He wears body armor everywhere and has baseball bats, lacrosse sticks, hockey sticks, and other sporting equipment on him. He also comes with a taser integrated into his glove that he can use to stun opponents. He's prepared for any battleground because of his shoes, which can switch between roller skates and sneakers. Casey Jones seems to be rather conceited, somewhat aggressive, a little flirtatious, and unconcerned with his academic performance. He demonstrates that, despite his lack of training, he has the ability to compete with the best. As Casey spends hours with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a camaraderie develops, and they work together as a strong team to defeat any opponents that may arise. April ONeil. A deuterogenist in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is April ONeil. She's presented as the Turtles' best friend and Donatello's love interest. She originally encountered the Turtles when they freed her first from Crang, who required the psychic Crang-like abilities she'd acquired since birth in preparation for their invasion of Earth. She's bold, strong, and lovely. She's an extremely proficient, nearly full-on kunoichi, thanks to her Tessin. She's not your average teenage girl. April is often depicted as a newscaster and a great buddy of the Ninja Turtles, Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo, frequently serving as a surrogate mother or a big sister to them. April is typically the Ninja Turtles' very first human ally in most iterations. April has red hair, much like a lot of her iterations had. She wears a yellow headband and has her hair pulled back in a ponytail. April feels more at ease among the Turtles than she does with her high school classmates. She occasionally demonstrates stubbornness, as seen in the Crang conspiracy, where she repeatedly insists on bringing the Turtles into TCRI, even though doing so is extremely risky and she's a novice kunoichi. This woman is intelligent, independent, and full of guts and mischief. She improved her speed, stealth, and ability to use self-defense once Splinter started teaching her the ninjutsu techniques. She possesses a unique talent that enables her to see certain traits of other people, such as telepathy and psychic skills. The truth is that she's truly half Crang and part human in Season 2. She has the ability to read Krang's thoughts. However, it's unclear to what extent she can do so. She can also sense impending danger. She can also perhaps generate a telekinetic wave when in peril and pumped up with adrenaline that's strong enough to paralyze every bad guy in the Crang conspiracy and TCRI. Splinter freely handed her the weapon known as her Tessin, which he'd originally intended to present to Karai while she was still his daughter. Her blood is the sole component required to complete the retro mutagen because she's a half Crang mutant resistant to mutagens. Baxter Stockman. Baxter Stockman, a supporting adversary in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, was formerly a human TCRI inventor, but after his conflict with the Turtles, he joined the Foot Clan as Shredder's employer. In I Think His Name is Baxter Stockman, he makes his acting debut. In the lonely mutation of Baxter Stockman, he transformed into a mutant housefly that serves as one of Shredder's henchmen. He's a clever, bug-eyed mad scientist who frequently teams up with Crang and/or the Shredder. He's portrayed nearly universally as the father of the Mousers and a nemesis of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's typically pushed into a different shape, either transformed into a fly or a cyborg, further eroding his sanity. He's much more vicious and animal-like than Stockman Fly, yet he still has a scientific intellect, which Shredder still values. He's a lot more assertive. Because of his strength, he could even defeat certain robot troops. Although being a fly means he doesn't make any friends, he also becomes bossier and truly enjoys it. He has a lot of mechanical and electrical engineering expertise. He's attempting to build a mutant legion for Shredder and has sufficient genetics expertise to do it. Donatello's teapot enlarges his crudely constructed supercharged combat armor to astonishing dimensions. He's seen to have a fleet of tiny drones that can launch an attack from below and take any type of technology, even electronics, for him. His unique spitting ability is potent enough to melt metal. He has an excellent hearing at a distance and can discover candy in foul trash. He can engage in hand-to-hand battles with more than one opponent because of his increased strength. He can keep up with moving objects like Steranko's helicopter and the Shell Razor, thanks to the speed of his wings. Despite all angles, he can glide on flat surfaces. He's seen to possess human intelligence, which he's managed to hold onto due to his mutation. He still speaks, but it's now buzzing and hissing. He has great endurance, since he can fly at great heights and distances without ever displaying any signs of weariness, and he can still take strikes from the turtles.
You're a rhinoceros! And you're a... I don't know what...
Rocksteady. A significant enemy in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is Rocksteady. He was formerly Ivan Steranko, a human Russian armaments trader connected to the Foot Clan and Shredder. He's evolved into a humanoid white rhinoceros and, along with Bebop, serves as one of Shredder's accomplices. In Enemy of My Enemy, he made his screen debut. The Russian rockhead Rhino is who he is. He regularly teams up with his comrade Bebop and is devoted to the Shredder. Large and hulking, Steranko is dressed in a black suit with barbed epaulets, a black dress shirt, a crimson tie, an ushanka which had a yellow star, as well as a pair of knuckle dusters. He has scars all over his face, blonde hair, and a right eye that sparkles like a diamond. Ivan Steranko is rude and without humor, yet it's clear that he only cares about rare and exclusive stuff since he's prepared to negotiate when the opportunity arises. He becomes much more violent and sharpens his combat techniques as Rocksteady. Rocksteady vows loyalty to Shredder and consents to create the dynamic pair of Rocksteady and Bebop with his companion in crime, Bebop. He can shoot his minigun with accuracy. The flag of the Soviet Union is shown on his hands, which are portrayed as knuckle dusters made of brass and have somewhat enlarged for his stature. On occasion, he's seen pursuing his enemies while brandishing a flamethrower. He frequently wields his horn like a weapon or a ram. He demonstrates his proficiency in hand-to-hand warfare by outlasting Raphael and Mike in a duel and coming out on top. Despite his mutation, he still possesses his human brain and excellent people-handling skills.
Y'all got jokes, huh? But let's see how funny you are after we bash your heads in!
Bebop. A significant adversary in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is Bebop. He was previously Anton Zek and a professional human burglar hired to take Shredder's helmet. He's evolved into a mutant warthog and, along with Rocksteady, serves as one of Shredder's henchmen. In The Legend of the Kuro Kabuto, he made his acting debut. The smooth-talking pig-head mutant is who he is. Bebop was previously a human, but after being transformed into a mutant warthog, he, along with Rocksteady, joined the Shredder's minions. Typically, he's seen with a purple mohawk. In order to distract his attackers, Anton Zek frequently speaks in rap and makes motions with his body. Being a burglar, he seems to disregard other people's property totally. When he tries to steal and goes into places where he's meant to take things, he also tends to demonstrate his cunning. He acts a little more somber as Bebop and is sought to taunt women he encounters, like when he bumps April. But he screams at everyone who calls him by his new moniker, calling it the stupidest name ever. He's more than a formidable opponent who wants to defeat the turtle since he has the power to go invisible, is outfitted with X-ray spectacles, and has an infinite supply of gadgets. His energy suit greatly supports his athletic abilities. When it comes to taking relics like the Kuro Kabuto and the Spear of Destiny, as well as automobiles like the Foot Clan's bike, he's an expert thief. He has a lot of advanced weaponry, including an electric mohawk and belt. He employs a container of glue to hold someone as large as Raza in their tracks. He can climb and descend barriers because of his backpack. He has a collection of shurikens that release 1 million microchips when they burst. He's compelled to wear his visor since it improves his vision because his eyesight declined due to his mutation. His snout is powerful enough to assist in determining the location of the turtles. He's seen to possess human intelligence, which he's managed to hold onto due to his mutation.
Hello, Jones. Long time no see.
Hun. One of the primary antagonists from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series and a recurrent character is Hun. He's a big, muscular bully who's strong, quick, and extremely talented in martial arts. He's the ancillary adversary in the animated series of 2003. In the 2003 series, he serves as both the Utrom Shredder's assistant and the street gang's commander, the Purple Dragons. Hun hates all 4 of the Ninja Turtles, but he has a strong animosity with Casey Jones since Hun and the Purple Dragons are thought to be the ones who killed Casey's father. Hun is, first and foremost, a callous and pitiful person. He's very vicious and wicked. Hun is an accomplished martial artist. Oroku Saki educated Hun while he was young and rose to the position of the right hand to the Shredder of the Purple Dragons and the Foot. Due to his stature, knowledge, and talent, Hun is the second strongest character in the series after the Shredder, though other personalities like the Triceratons and Leatherhead overshadow his physical strength. Hun can manage and overwhelm all 4 turtles at once and can even control the Triceraton Zog. He also has impressive speed, given his size and brutal strength. Hun can use a katana much more effectively than one might expect, given his stature. Hun may first appear to be the archetypal, large, brutal thug, but he also demonstrates his intelligence and deviousness by transforming the Purple Dragon from a small band of street thugs into a huge criminal organization. He's demonstrated remarkable cleverness and flexibility, despite the strong emphasis on his power, employing an amalgamation of street combat and ninjutsu to threaten the Turtles in the first few episodes seriously. Lastly, he's indeed a hardcore gamer, whose actions are more destructively malignant than usual. Jennica. Jennica, sometimes referred to as Jen or Jenny for short, was a member of Splinter's Foot Clan, a close friend of the Turtles, and for a short period of time, Casey Jones's romantic interest. She was formerly a human, but when Leonardo gave her an emergency infusion of mutated blood owing to her blood loss, she evolved into a mutant turtle. After the City at War arc, she relocated to Mutant Town, a section of New York City where residents had undergone mutation as a result of Old Hobbs' bombing of Union Square Park. There, she established the Splinter clan and constructed their own dojo with the help of the other Turtles and fellow ex-foot soldier Alopex. Later, he formed the band Created in Darkness and started dating her buddy, Sheena. Despite having a tough female attitude, Jennica is actually quite sweet and kind. She struggles with anger a lot, like Raphael, but she manages it better and is more polite than him. She also enjoys listening to heavy metal music a lot. Young Jennica had blue eyes and extremely short blonde hair. In addition to carrying and using a pair of metallic claws, Jennica occasionally was spotted brandishing a katana. Jennica is skilled in the field of ninjutsu, which includes stealth, espionage, and escape, as well as unarmed and armed fighting. She may not be as skilled in athletics as the rest of the Turtles, but she is very agile and possesses athletic abilities that even the best-trained athletes can't match. More than any other Clan Hamato or Foot Clan member visible, Jennica was charged with overseeing and caring for the youngsters of St. Robert's Orphanage. These orphans learned fundamental martial arts skills from Jennica. Jennica is an upright turtle of humanoid height and posture, which provides advantages and possible drawbacks for mutant turtles. Her shell is made up of a carapace, and a plastron is the most noticeable feature. Jennica sported the distinctive attire of a foot assassin, complete with striped arms and a terrifying red mask. After the mutation, Jennica adopts the Turtles' custom of donning a yellow eye mask bandana. Old Hob. Old Hob, a one-eyed mutant cat, is the Turtles' first significant adversary in the IDW timeline. Chris Ryall, the head editor of IDW, came up with him. Hob first employed a group of human workers, but later he and Slash co-founded the Mutanimals, which, as its membership increased, came to be known as the Mighty Mutanimals. Old Hob was formerly a small boy's pet cat, but the boy's irate mother abandoned him on the street as a form of discipline for not picking up after himself. Until Splinter and the Turtles were abandoned by the two ninjas who had kidnapped them from Stock Gen, Hob had a sad existence as a stray. Old Hob made an attempt to remove Raphael from the mutagen so he could eat. Old Hob fled when Master Splinter assaulted him and caused him to lose an eye. Raphael appeared to be gone forever. The mutagen changed Old Hob, enabling him to walk on two legs. After discovering he could talk, he eventually formed a street mob with a vendetta against the Turtles. Old Hob is not very competent, despite the fact that he seems to be a skilled street fighter. He frequently loses to opponents who are either stronger or more competent than he is. Although Hob frequently carries pistols and other weapons, his greatest power is his intelligence, and he's extremely charismatic too. Hob can quickly organize gangs and persuade both humans and mutants to join him. He's tenacious in all he does, winning the respect of Splinter, a former foe. He also appears to be a word mutant.
My name is Alopex, Turtle Boy.
Alopex. In the IDW canon, Alopex is a mutant female Arctic fox who made her debut in Raphael's Micro Series issue. She was initially altered to work for the Shredder, but she later revolted and joined the Turtles. When she arrived at Mutant Town, she set up her own refuge. The Turtles established their own tribe and constructed their dojo near Splinter's shelter 6 months after his death. Alopex and Raphael developed a friendship, which finally resulted in their relationship. Brian Lynch wrote the script for Alopex, while Kevin Eastman created the visuals. Alopex is Kevin Eastman's first fresh Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles creation in over 15 years. Alopex can strike her opponents with some extremely potent punches, kicks, and smashes, despite being a little mutant red fox. Alopex can bounce back to activity quickly after recovering. Alopex's transformation into that of a red fox gave her incredible speed, which she frequently uses. She can attack her opponents with lightning-fast moves because of her lightning-quick speed. Alopex uses stealth to attack her adversaries since she's a skilled ninja assassin and kunoichi. She possesses razor-sharp claws that she can use to hurt enemies. Alopex and Takeshi, Alopex's brother, appear to possess a sixth sense, which they utilize to detect one another. Alopex employs a pair of dual kama as her go-to weapons in battle. She can cut through virtually anything with those terrible swords. Alopex employs kunai, one of her armory of ninja weapons, to launch missiles at enemies, things, or any target. She utilizes these egg-shaped ninja weapons, known as Metsubushi, as part of her arsenal to blind her adversaries temporarily. Miyamoto Usagi. Miyamoto Usagi is the primary character of the Usagi Yojimbo series of comic books. Usagi, a fictional ronin, a warrior without a master or a daimyo who was influenced by Miyamoto Musashi, is a humanoid bunny. Usagi is Japanese for bunny or rabbit, who is now on the Musha Shugyo, the warrior's journey. Over the years, he's collaborated on a number of projects with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for comic books, video games, cartoons, as well as action figures. Despite being friends with all of the Ninja Turtles, Usagi frequently works with Leonardo. He's one of the greatest swordsmen in the country and possesses exceptional talent. Usagi was educated in the craft of bujutsu, the art of war, by the countercultural martial artist Katsuichi. Usagi has fought in actual battles in addition to ceremonial duels and is a warrior of the Age of Wars. Usagi utilizes an unconventional style of swordplay that contradicts the traditional methods taught in the more popular Kenjutsu dojos. Usagi frequently stuns his opponents with sword moves they've never seen before, thanks to his training and unique sword style. Due to Usagi's non-aggressive demeanor and exceptional talent, he's frequently vanquished several opponents without even taking his sword out of its sheath, even while his rivals had. Usagi has often been able to overcome his adversaries with unorthodox weapons like a stick, a seaweed pole, or perhaps even fish when he's been without his swords. Usagi has frequently had to toss his wakizashi or katana to defeat an adversary deftly. Usagi has a keen awareness that even though an assassin once attempted to assassinate him while he was sleeping, he could still perceive the threat. With his many sword styles, Usagi is still in a vulnerable position while facing spears, despite his intense training and high level of proficiency. Usagi's unconventional fighting technique is undoubtedly why he's been able to adjust to battling against Jay and live when other sword specialists have perished. This vulnerability has frequently left him on the defense against his mortal nemesis, Jay. Toka. Toka is the father of Chompy Picasso and the keeper of the third component of the Heart of Darkness. It hails from Magdomar, a planet covered with lava. Toka is a young mutant snapping turtle that originally appeared in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 111 of the IDW canon. At the Mutanimals headquarters in Mutant Town, Old Hob ordered the detention of Raza, a second mutant, and Toka in a holding cell. Oroku and Karai went to see Hob at Mutanimals headquarters to work out a different arrangements, since Koya had earlier failed to obtain the shipment of the three scumbags Hob had initially agreed to provide the Foot Clan as new members. Raza and Toka caught Karai's attention, and she knew she had to have them as fresh recruits. He may be the toughest of all the characters, despite it being unclear just how strong he is due to his stature. His firepower is so strong that he can shoot it into the air and take off. He was capable of surviving the explosion, even though it was almost impossible to accomplish so, and it's unknown if he was hurt. His endurance is quite strong, allowing him to fly back into space and approach Earth at a rapid rate of speed from a great distance to look for his child. Given that he was unaffected by the explosion, it's probable that he has some strong healing abilities. The fact that he located his kid on Earth after searching for him for several months suggests that he may have a keen sense of smell.
Some dogs.
Raza. A significant antagonist in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is Raza. He was formerly known as Chris Bradford and was Shredder's top martial arts pupil. He's now a mutant grey werewolf, formerly known as Dog Pound, and together with his sidekick, Fishface, he serves as one of Shredder's hench mutants. His competitor is Michelangelo. He served as Alpha Dog to Shredder. Chris Bradford's background is unknown, but we do know he was born in New York City in 1979 to an affluent family, and he spent many years being groomed as a valued Foot Clan member in Shredder's likeness, running a network of dojos all across the nation to find foot soldiers. Raza has a long, highly bony physique that resembles a skeleton werewolf, with fur that's significantly darker and more silver in tone, a longer nose with wider fangs, and hands that seem to be totally composed of bone. Despite being a violent, ravenous beast, he still has his previous personality. Raza, Dog Pound, one part mutt and one part man are all diabolical. This razor-back warrior has been reincarnated twice and has been modified by the Crang by martial arts teacher Chris Bradford. His biting and fighting skills match those of any turtle he encounters. He's familiar with a certain maneuver that Shredder showed him, which was used against Splinter. He's capable of being more than an athlete, thanks to his strength, stamina, and endurance. He's revealed to be carrying a katana, which is nearly 3,000 years old. Due to Dog Pound's keen sense of smell and hearing, he could locate Stockman's laboratory and overhear the Turtles and April conversing. Since he could scent Zack inside the Shredder cave and get near his prey until the track got weaker, Raza's keen ability to smell is now better. He can see clearly in the dark. As Dog Pound, he may utilize an automobile as a melee weapon by using his bigger arm. He can sprint considerably more swiftly than previously and quicker than the Turtles when he's Raza. Armagon. Armagon is the Ninja Turtles' adversary. He's an intergalactic criminal sought in over 87 celestial bodies as a robotic shark alien who is a galactic gunslinger and assassin from space. He's been a dependable friend of the Insectoid Armada, and Lord Dreg and the leader of Sectoid 1 just hired him to find his new enemies, the Ninja Turtles, Casey Jones, April O'Neil, and Fugitoid. But when Dreg developed a desire to own the Heart of Darkness all for himself, the assassin's workload increased significantly because he was required to do 2 jobs for Vringath Dreg. The ruthless assassin was devoured whole by the Scorpionoid when Igithgba, the Ulysses crew, and Githroka fled from Dreg's castle back in Sectoid 1 once the bionic alien Scorpion pulled him from inside his hole. His go-to trademark weapons are laser wrist blades, a shark astro suit, shoulder blasters, and missiles. The outlaw Armagon features Armagon's debut. Armagon was created on an unidentified planet, likely by human-like aquatic aliens. He eventually trained on his own to turn into a bounty hunter as well as a killer. Armagon even started working with the Insectoids often since Lord Vringath Dreg required him for specific nefarious duties. However, it was said that Dreg failed to atone for the alien shark's mistakes during this collaboration. Armagon was prepared to ask Lord Dreg for forgiveness for what he'd done in the past at this time. He's stronger, more resilient, and more agile. He has exceptional combat abilities and is a terrific swimmer. His jaws are capable of ripping anyone out. Armagon also uses his sharp tail as a weapon to combat his adversaries. Triceratons. The first work produced by Mirage Studios, Triceratons predate even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a series in which they've repeatedly featured. They're an extraterrestrial race in almost every guise. The Triceraton homeworld was often destroyed, and their culture now exists aboard asteroid ships, frequently serving as a military space republic's imperial or republican capital. Aliens from space called the Triceratons look like humanoid Triceratops. The Krang's dreaded adversaries with whom they have long-running conflicts for dominance of Dimension X are the Triceratons. The Crang even went as far as to use a black hole generator to annihilate the Triceraton home planet during the fight. Consequently, just one fleet, including the Triceraton mothership, survives, but it's grown even more determined to eliminate the Crang. The Triceratons often wear helmets or other types of gear to supply themselves with an appropriate breathing environment because they typically breathe a mixture of nitrogen and sulfur. They belong to the Saurian genus and may share genetics with the Triceratops from Earth. The herbivorous Triceratons are a compelling and aggressive species that are also fiercely devoted to their race. They construct ion motors on asteroids and transform them into movable cities to serve as their home worlds. The Triceratons also utilize these asteroids as industries, educational institutions, sports venues, and military staging areas. They're incredibly effective conquerors because they enthusiastically embrace new technology and constantly modify their strategies to account for it. Thanks to their technology, Triceratons can also easily adapt to new environments. Xamarine is a highly addictive substance that improves speed and the nervous system, but withdrawal can result in heart failure and even death. Several of their personnel also use it. The technology of the Triceratons is highly sophisticated, and they frequently deploy energy weaponry and anti-gravity vehicles. The Triceraton Republic or Empire is the name of their political system. They're mutants in the IDW comics, mutated after the Utroms and Crang abducted numerous Triceratops from Earth, eons ago during the Ancient Era.
Begging for mercy. You may call me Bishop.
Agent John Bishop. The chief of the Earth Protection Force, Agent John Bishop, is a special American government operative and the secondary antagonist of the 2003 television series. He strives to prevent extraterrestrial invasion of Earth. He first appeared in the Worlds Collide Space Invaders storyline of the 3rd season of the 2003 television series, where he abducted the Ninja Turtles and attempted to autopsy them in an effort to discover the mysteries of their mutation. Ever since, he's participated in the majority of the main plot lines of the series as the Turtles' former adversary and eventual ally. Because he was kidnapped and tortured by aliens when he was young, Agent John Bishop has an intense hatred for them. As seen by the truth that he remembered all of the Turtles' names when they first met, he's often quite composed and likes to be in charge. Bishop also loves learning as much as possible about his adversaries and possible victims before encountering them. He rarely loses his anger and has a cold, crafty mind. Bishop is deceptive, yet he detests it when he's deceived, as seen by his suppressed but obvious rage when he discovered that the Foot Mystics had conned him into ensuring their release. Bishop is the ideal illustration of a man operating at the pinnacle of his physical potential. In addition to having a considerable fundamental scientific understanding of genetics, Agent Bishop is a trained combat veteran and secret agent with over 200 years of expertise in all relevant military and espionage domains. Although it's questionable where Bishop's physical strength comes from, he has almost superhuman speed and agility, which enable him to dodge most attacks on his person. Despite his athletic prowess, his body appears to be afflicted by an unidentified disease that leads it to deteriorate with time. He's endured over the ages in part because of a series of a couple of cloned bodies. Bishop has access to a vast range of cutting-edge terrestrial and alien technologies as the leader of the Earth Protection Force. Bishop likes to employ a specialized fighting suit with laser guns on intense combat missions. Chrome Dome. The Shredder constructed Chrome Dome, a gigantic robot to oversee the foot soldiers while they created the Technodrome Mark II. His various built-in weaponry includes rockets, cannons, and blasters, among others. The Turtles disabled a significant chip on his back, which allowed them to destroy him. As a member of Shredder's Rogues, he made a second appearance in the episode The Night of the Rogues, alongside numerous other baddies. He lost when Casey Jones put him in a drill cylinder and crushed him. It's unknown what really happened to his remnants after that. The Ninja Turtles' adversary is Chrome Dome, also known as Dark Ninja Robot. He's an advanced footbot equipped with ninja attire. He was employed by the Foot Clan to locate April ONeil, only so that Karai may evaluate him. Target April ONeil debuts Chrome Dome. Since the Foot Clan and the Crang formed an alliance, aliens have been giving the Foot Clan new weaponry to help them become more powerful. The Footbots, an improvement to the foot soldiers that they offered them, were one of the few items they gave them. However, Shredder was not pleased with their weakness and headed for Tokyo, Japan to seek a member of the Foot Clan. In the meantime, Karai had given the Crang the command to develop Chrome Dome, an enhanced version of Footbot. The Shredder would construct other Chrome Domes and employ them as warriors and guardians once this first one was destroyed. Chrome Dome uses a plasma sword and a whip as his weapons. Chrome Dome is just a computerized antagonist whose behavior appears to have been carried out quite well in both of his television iterations. In reality, Chrome Dome is always able to defeat the Ninja Turtles when they team up to attack and manage to expose them by giving them a difficult time in the confrontations. He can pose a greater danger to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because of his vital instructions. Watching him battle the Turtles more frequently would have been undoubtedly more entertaining. When Michelangelo stabbed Chrome Dome with his own weapon, he was defeated. Leatherhead. The Crang utilized Leatherhead, a mutant alligator, as just a lab rat, or, in this instance, a reptile. He initially appeared in Nick.com's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Dark Horizons and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Sewer Run video games on Nick.com. Later, in the episode It Came From the Depths, he made his television show debut. As the mutant sewer gator, he's well known. He appears in most of the series' iterations and is often a friend of the Ninja Turtles. However, there are few cases in which he serves as an enemy. He has humanoid limbs and legs, the ability to communicate, and the appearance of a crocodile. Like other crocodilians, he's enormous, has a really long tail, pointed claws, and a wide mouth. Leatherhead has a remarkably compassionate nature and doesn't truly want to hurt people, despite his monstrous bulk and look. Because he's a crocodile and has endured a lot of brutality from the Crang, he occasionally has fits of wrath, during which he loses all self-control. With his overwhelming strength and raw power, Leatherhead is a valuable partner in the Turtles' battle against the Crang. His aptitudes were enhanced from a standard alligator to a mutant, rendering him an incredible powerhouse. He can easily spend much time swimming underwater, essentially like real alligators can. In combat, he rumbles down the floor like an alligator and employs his razor-sharp backplates and his weight to smash his enemies. His third eyelid latches into place when he gets furious, and he has jaws so strong they can rend steel. He could easily raise a car and toss it a concise distance with adequate strength. He can be seen as capable of withstanding the hazardous atmosphere of Dimension X. It seems that all throughout his visit with the Crang, he retained as much as he could regarding them. Karai. Young Karai, also known as Hamato Maiwa, finds herself in the heart of a conflict between Hamato Yoshi and Oroku Saki. Hamato Yoshi is Karai's biological father. She's the oldest and biological daughter of Tang Shen and Hamato Yoshi. When she thought Saki had been her father in seasons 1 and 2, she played the anti-hero villain. When Karai discovered Saki was deceiving her in season 2, she transformed into a genuine hero. In spite of her transformation into a mutated snake, Karai retains plenty of her individuality to recognize Splinter for a brief moment, calling him father, and at the conclusion of season 2, rescue him from sinking after the Shredder throws him into the sewer. She returned to her previous behaviors while under the spell of the brainworms, but she was much worse than before due to her snake powers and had no honor at all. She soon managed to escape the fourfold trap's brainworm. She now supports the Turtles as well as their pals and hopes to restore the Foot Clan to its former glory. In Enemy of My Enemy, Karai demonstrates her powerful Kunoichi abilities by defeating Leonardo alone and all 4 Turtles at once. Despite being a human, she displayed some power in combat and had impressive acrobatic skills compared to an athlete. She possesses extraordinarily quick reflexes and an incredibly powerful tail that can be used for constricting, whipping, or suffocating. When Karai is furious, she possesses the ability to spew out blinding poison and use her tongue like a pitchfork. The sharp, retractable fangs of the Karai are demonstrated. She's seen to be able to change between her mutant and human forms, yet even in her human form, some of her snake-like characteristics are still discernible. She exhibits human intellect but loses some of it as she transforms into a mutant because her mind becomes more savage. She can also cure skin wounds, even piercing wounds and severe burns, by shredding her skin into a mutant form. She can spontaneously change a specific area of her physique into a mutant form. Since she's a hybrid with healing abilities, she has a longer lifetime and slower aging. Angel. Angel is a member of the Turtles and friends with April O'Neil and Casey Jones from the 2003 television show. In the first season, Angel is shown as a 14-year-old female with purple-colored hair pulled back in pigtails and pierced ears and left eyebrow. She also sports a baggy red pair of jeans, a sleeveless teal hoodie, 2 black pointy bracelets, and 2 light purple bands that alternate between ending just over the purple metallic encrusted elbow pads and beginning at the wrist. She also sports purple adorned biker gloves as well as hook and loop shoes with teal socks. Throughout the circumstances of the darkness within, she occasionally dons a long-sleeve hoodie. She's dressed in a yellow long-sleeve sweatshirt in the Christmas Aliens. Angel's look has matured in Back to the Sewer and her tresses have been worn down, but it's still black with violet streaks at the front. She's changed her outfit to include a black halter neck top, matching arm heaters that end at the forearms, several metallic wristbands, a necklace with a tiny red pendant, skin-tight cabernet jeans, a grey belt that hangs off center right at the waist, as well as black semi-boots with metallic toe taps along with 2 thick straps. She has a colossal bun in her hair, a periwinkle dress with a chalk white lining, a giant magenta corsage, pink bangles, a necklace with a gold locket, and white heels for Casey and April's marriage in wedding bells and bites. Angel is a street girl who grew up in Brooklyn and is thus familiar with the talents developed there. She's developed some hand-to-hand combat abilities as a result of her experiences, which she may utilize to get herself out of tight spots. She also has a particular aptitude for lockpicking. The Dark Turtles. The Dark Turtles, who work for Darius Dunn, are partial clones of the Ninja Turtles manufactured by Shokanobo, because they hardly resemble turtles themselves and are more of a kanabo. They were developed especially for the anime series Fast Forward. The extraterrestrial conqueror, Shokanobo, took the genetic code of the Turtles after they repeatedly foiled his plans, and this genetic code was used to create the Dark Turtles. He asked Darius Dunn whether the mutated clones were accessible after they struck a deal. Dunn injected the Dark Turtles with a post-hypnotic insinuation that prevented them from attacking him in order to defend himself from these crazy and depraved variations of his sworn archenemies. The Dark Turtles proved to be stronger and more resilient than their originals, yet the Turtles consistently defeated them due to their overall lack of brains and combat expertise. Due to the cancellation of Season 2 of Fast Forward, it's never made clear what happened to the Dark Turtles and Dunn once the Turtles returned to their own time. The head of the Dark Turtles and a clone of Leonardo, Dark Leo fights with a pair of swords. Leonardo attempted to convince Dark Leo that he should have dignity if he were really his clone during their first battle with the Turtles. Dark Leo countered, saying that while Dark Leo and the Dark Turtle shared certain traits with Leonardo and his siblings, they didn't share a respect for the honor. Though his disposition is somewhat similar to the others, Dark Don, a Donatello clone, is the smartest of the Dark Turtles. The Terra Pin, the Dark Turtle's equivalent of the Turtle's hover shell, and the several other devices he employs appear to be his creations. In battle, Dark Don also makes use of his lengthy tail. Dark Ralph, Raphael's clone, is the least qualified of the Dark Turtles, depending more on strength than intelligence, and his diction is relatively simple. When someone criticizes Dark Ralph's looks, he gets easily angered, something Michelangelo once exploited against him. Raphael also remarked that Dark Ralph had foul breath, which infuriated him greatly. Dark Mike is a Michelangelo clone. However, unlike his siblings, he has a yellow bandana rather than the same hue as his counterpart. He also has pupils in his eyes, unlike his brothers. Dark Mike's demeanor is similar to a demented version of Michelangelo's, since Dark Mike is fairly insane and energetic, frequently laughs maniacally, and dances around.
This ends now, Mythos!
I think not, Raptor.
Mythos, the primary adversary of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode Wing and a Prayer from 2003, is Mythos. Mythos is just an avian who longs to rule the Earth's surface. Mythos decided to overthrow the Council's elders because he thought that the avian city should dominate the Earth beneath him. He ultimately lost his precious wings and was sent to the surface, where Raptor kept watch over him. Later, after getting black metal wings, he was first observed engaging in combat with Raptor. Before the turtle intervened and saved Raptor, he'd taken his crystal diadem from him and was going to kill him by using Mythos' wings to construct a diamond drill. He was electrocuted after being duped into capturing the command crystal just next to the core. He was defeated once more, deprived of his wings, and put behind bars. He later found his followers in the city after using Raptor's crystal to direct him there. He stormed inside the temple with his disciples, took the crystal, and used it to flatten a mountain. He'd intended to use it to destroy Seattle when Raptor and the Turtles arrived flying in on jetpacks. Mythos has 2 wings made of black metal and has black hair with spikes. He had white, fluffy wings at first, but after being conquered and exiled, he lost them. Mythos' wings, which he has, give him the capacity to fly. In order to defeat his opponents, he may also utilize his wings to create a diamond drill. Even more, he can fire metal shards from them. General Trag in the Rock Soldiers. The leader of the Rock Soldiers all the way from Dimension X, General Trag, is fervently devoted to the supremely strong extraterrestrial warlord dictator Crang. The Ninja Turtles' adversary Trag frequently teams up with Granitor. Especially for the animated series from 1987, this character was developed. When Crang dampened the boulders from Dimension X using his mutagen, he formed Trag, precisely like the Stone Warriors he oversaw. Crang then brainwashed Trag to transform him into a warrior who owed him nothing but total allegiance and lived only for battle. Trag finally received the position of deputy leader of Krang's army as a result of his exceptional commitment. Even after the Technodrome fell, he continued to remain Lord Krang's staunchest and most devoted follower for an unspecified length of time. Trag made several attempts to eliminate the Turtles by himself for his lord, but he always fell short. He had a brief cameo in the episode Usagi Yojimbo, while Shredder was experimenting with an update to the dimensional portal, but he never completely manifested because of the experimental nature of the equipment. The Rock Soldiers are an army of intelligent humanoids from Dimension X whose bodies are made of stone, as their name suggests. They're also known as Stone Warriors or Rock Warriors. They're Krang's agents, making them the Ninja Turtles' adversaries. Krang produced Rock Soldiers by using his neurotoxin on rocks, which was a rare instance of a non-living thing being brought to life by the chemical and reared as warriors for his army. They're not particularly intelligent, but they are exceedingly robust and impervious to bodily harm. Their numbers are arranged in rigid hierarchy, with military rank serving as a clear indicator of prestige and authority. Rock Soldiers come in two main varieties, brown and grey. As a result, the Stone Warriors' whole culture is focused on military principles and violence, with a clear inclination toward hatred and aggression toward other species. The extraterrestrial warlord Crang, who is currently in exile, is served by the Stone Warriors.
It's going to be quite a party.
Max Winter's Yautl. Former key anti-hero and supporting character in the 2007 film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Max Winters is also known as Yautl. He was dubbed by Sir Patrick Stewart, the one who also played Professor X in the X-Men film series, Great Prince of the Forest in Bambi 2, and Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek The Next Generation. Yautl once headed a ruthless fraternity that was prepared to take over the entire globe. Yautl came upon the stars of Kakan, a constellation that would align every 3,000 years to establish a passage to another realm while attacking a city in Central America. His four commanders were turned to stone and 13 beasts were let loose, destroying their troops and their adversaries as a price for being immortal. In the 21st century, he changed his identity to Max Winters and established the multifaceted Winters Corps. He assisted April O'Neil in locating the Stone Generals and engaged Karai's Foot Clan to serve as his eyes, ears, and watchful guardians against his supposed friends, the 13 monsters, who were actually headed to New York. His generals were revived and led to the monsters by secret devices he'd put on them. Aquila, however, argued that they would end up losing their immortality and conspired against him along with the others. Winters was shocked to see that Leonardo had been substituted for the previous monster during the alignment. Max was immortal and an expert businessman. Not only was he blessed in his swordsmanship, but he also had ancient armor and was a master combatant.
You guys saved my life. On the streets, it's everyone for themselves.
Mondo Gecko. Jason, commonly known as Mondo Gecko, is a beloved character from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles television series from 2012. He's a talented skateboarder who is a mutant gecko. However, he's not a great fighter. When a container of mutagen came dropping from the ship of Crang and struck Jason in the head, he was skating on his own custom-built half-pipe. He carried a pet leopard gecko named Lars with him, but Lars evolved into a 4-foot-tall anthropomorphic leopard gecko after being abandoned by his parents. After witnessing Mike and Casey Jones confront Fishface, who eventually reveals his real character by smacking Mondo away, Jason, who was then given the moniker Mondo Gecko, discovers that it's constantly preferable to have a mate's back. This marks the beginning of the unbreakable relationship between geckos and turtles. He speaks in standard surfer lingo such as dude, cowabunga, gnarly, etc. And he gets quite irritated when people refer to him by his true name rather than by his mutant moniker. According to Fishface, Mondo tends to look out for himself.
Hey man, I could have been hurt. Oh,
for example,
sorry,
when
Mondo.
Casey came dangerously close to falling off a building, Mondo chuckled and didn't even try to save him, even though he might have died or been wounded as a result. However, he began to be more watchful as he saw that other people were concerned for his safety. Mikey stopped him from falling from a building. His skating prowess is superb. He can move at a rapid pace because of his training as a mortal, and later for the mutation. He can employ his tail as an extension as he holds his skateboard with it. Upon mutation, Mondo gained a high level of agility. Mondo can easily climb surfaces because of his mutation, which also allows his Velcro hands to sustain his weight. The Rat King. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has a villain named the Rat King as a character. He initially showed up in the Monkey Brains episode. Falco is now dead following his final battle with Splinter, during which he plunges off a cliff. Most Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles iterations feature the mysterious figure Rat King, whose origins are often either obscure or unknown. He's featured in his different forms as the Turtles' adversary, an anti-hero, and even an ally, making his connection with them rather ambiguous. Falco was nothing less than a psychopath who was obsessed with power and was only thinking about himself. He was a gifted liar with a crafty mind that could trick April, Don, and the whole city of New York into believing that he had no knowledge of his buddy, Dr. Rockwell's disappearance. His severely psychopathic inclinations were practically undetectable, owing to his figurative mask of normalcy. Falco was so unsympathetic and heartless that he could kidnap and mutate his colleague in order to develop a psychic serum. He was corrupt, vicious, conceited, and arrogant. Falco, who was gleefully reveling in Rockwell's suffering, mercilessly insulted Donatello during their altercation over their shared affections for April. While attempting to duplicate his psychic serum, he was mutated and given a very modest amount of decency in the past. He was also given a telepathic link with rats. Assuming the moniker the Rat King, Falco was a full-fledged misanthrope who started to view mankind as nothing but an infestation. As such, he took pleasure in tormenting New York, either mutating or killing any people who got in his way. Ironically, the person Falco thought of his equal and archenemy is Hamato Yoshi, whom he attempted to mind control before Splinter could beat him. He was telepathically able to communicate with and command rats. Strength, speed, and agility were all improved. He has the capacity to disguise himself. His healing factor was inhuman. Kitsune. In the IDW Comics Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, Kitsune is a villain. She belongs to the Pantheon, a group of immortals, each one of whom controls a different animal. She's Shredder's lover and wants to bring back her father, the dragon. Even outside of Japan, the name Kitsune, which is Japanese for fox, is frequently associated with referring to the creature as a shape-shifting trickster, yokai. In the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kitsune particularly refers to a pantheon figure who is Orokusaki's consort. She once intended to build the Dragon Warrior, which she chooses to revive her father to use as a mortal vessel. She became romantically involved with Takashi Tetsuo, the founder of the Foot Clan. She transformed Takashi into Orokusaki, who would later turn into the Shredder after Takashi's death. After Shredder died, she tried to revive him using his remains, but Splinter anticipated her plan and concealed his skull. Even though Splinter said she didn't love Shredder, she did, even though she intended to exploit him as his father. She doesn't appear to mesh well with the other family members, and they don't share her aspirations to kill out all of humankind or resurrect their father. The Rat King occasionally pays Kitsune a casual visit. Aka, Kitsune's younger sister, doesn't appear to mind that she's Kitsune's competition, despite being her sister and oldest sibling. Due to Kitsune's mental control over her against her choice, Alopex also hates her. Kitsune is an eternal witch with magic and shape-shifting abilities. Typically, Kitsune acquires her abilities via a lengthy life and continues to get stronger with age. The older, smarter, and more powerful Kitsune is, the more tails it possesses. She's frequently a trickster, with intentions ranging from mischief to malice. Bludgeon. In the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles IDW comics, Bludgeon is a bad guy. He's Koya's companion and a mutant hammerhead shark. Bludgeon has a strong connection to the Foot Clan. Bludgeon, a mutant hammer shark created by Shredder, made his debut during a conflict between Crang and Shredder. Bludgeon and Koya subsequently successfully destroy one of Krang's ships. Bludgeon is more relaxed and courteous than his brother, who was sent to seize control of the Burlow Island for Shredder. Later, Bludgeon engages the Turtles in battle and manages to flee. Bludgeon is a strong mutant shark with enhanced senses and superhuman strength, speed, and endurance. Bludgeon participated in the Gauntlet after Shredder's return, aiding Shredder in his battles with the Turtles and Splinter, but becoming blind in the process. Bludgeon then became an ascetic and assisted Karai in seizing the Yakuza to eliminate the head, enabling Karai to ascend to the new chief of the Yakuza after aiding her in obtaining a legendary sword. After Shredder's murder, Koya, Bludgeon, and Karai eventually traveled to Japan, setting up Karai's future. Later, Bludgeon and Karai show up to rescue the Foot Clan from Master Splinter. In the following City at War arc, Karai, as well as the others, will band together to fight Bishop's armies while regaining control of the Foot Clan with some assistance from the Turtles.
Hold them off, Rasputin!
The Punk Frogs. Mutant frogs known as the Punk Frogs were the Turtles' allies. Invasion of the Punk Frogs, a 1987 TV program, marked their debut. Napoleon Bonafrog is a member of the clan of mutant frogs known as the Punk Frogs. The pre-mutation was created in Buried Secrets. They appeared in their mutated forms in The Croaking. The Punk Frogs were rarely enemies when they were initially introduced. They met Shredder shortly after, becoming sapient as a result of an unintentional mutagen leak, who tricked them into serving him. Genga, Attila, Napoleon, and Rasputin were the names Shredder assigned the frogs in homage to his own idols, drawing an appropriate comparison to the Turtles. The Frogs and Turtles prank brought the Shredder to the Stonewall prison, where he was looking for niotrinolene, a substance he acquired to make a mutagen. Hoffman was able to follow the Turtles once again, and he and several of his men flew onto the prison's roof in a helicopter. However, Rasputin, the Punk Frog, used his magical exploding arrows to bury the entryway to the Turtles and Punk Frog's hiding place so they could escape once more. After that, the Frogs allied themselves with the Ninja Turtles, along with Attila rising to the position of the group leader. Despite visiting their new buddies often, they eventually made their way back to the Everglades. They may even be compared to the Ninja Turtles in terms of personality qualities. Before Mike questioned where they'd go, Napoleon stated that they stay with their thousands of cousins in Louisiana. Attila had predicted that there might be a day when turtles, frogs, and humans might coexist together. Before the frogs told the turtles, humans, and Napoleon goodbye as they walked off to start their new lives, they gave one another a parting present. Walker. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 is a live-action movie, and Walker is its major enemy. Walker was one of the very few Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles antagonists who was active during the early 17th century, rather than the current day because of the movie's time-traveling premise. Stuart Wilson, who not only played Don Raphael Montero in The Mask of Zorro, but also Jack Travis in Lethal Weapon 3, Walker was a ruthless arms trader who frequently expressed his enjoyment of murder. But despite this, he had an uncomfortable connection with Lord Norinaga in medieval Japan, whom he was arming with weapons so that he might usurp legitimate authority. In feudal Japan, Walker and his soldiers would keep wreaking mayhem. Wit chooses to betray Walker as he tears the rope, enabling the catapult to launch the flaming boulder directly toward the ladder as Walker tries to flee. In what's referred to be a Disney villain death, the one where an evildoer tumbles to their seeming demise, Walker yells, stumbles, and falls before falling to his death underwater. After the Turtles and a group of people opposed to Walker and Norinaga thwarted his plans, he attempted to flee. Walker and his men fight off the Turtles. Turtles and April went back to their home after Walker passed away, and Kenshin and Mitsu took over as the new kind-hearted emperors of that part of Japan. Mutagen Man. Mutant Mutagen Man has a jar-like body that exposes his internal organs. Originally employed as a geeky delivery guy for the fly-by-night messenger service, Seymour Guts had a disorientation syndrome that significantly hindered his ability to perform his job. In one of his many aberrations, Seymour wandered into the Shredder's hidden laboratory where Krang's unique mutagen was boiling, ready to be poured into a spacecraft's fuel tank and spread over New York City via the rocket's vapor trail, mutating every human. As a result of Rocksteady and Bebop's willingness to fire at the trespasser, who fell from his scaffold into the mutagen vat below, Mutagen Man was produced. Seymour's body was dismembered into his oddly still-living brain, mouth, eyes, and spinal cord because the mutagen he'd ingested was so unstable. Seymour was compelled to wear a custom purple and teal containment suit that the Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady manufactured for him. The suit's torso housed a reservoir of mutagen that kept the remainder of Seymour's body until a different option could be found. Soon later, Seymour discovered by coincidence that due to his affliction, he could change into nearly any form, though only briefly. He was unable to revert to his previous state, though. When Seymour Guts takes human form again, he decides to look like a handsome guy. Seymour's response to the question of why he doesn't resemble his photograph was, "I may be a nerd, but I'm not stupid." After that, he completes the task at hand, delivering a note to the Touch of Romance flower shop. He ultimately decides to go out with April O'Neil.
Am I missing something? Well, that's just great.
Irma Langenstein. Rook, a member of the Utrom High Council, produced Irma, a gynoid body that adopts the look of an adolescent human female. The Crang stole the plans for her model, along with many other Utrom technologies, and mass-produced the droids as a result. Utrom primarily utilizes them as a robotic disguise. Crang Subprime is the Irma droid's most prominent user. In Mutagen Man Unleashed, Irma makes her very first in-person appearance. She's seen in her locker, but her face is hidden, and she has no speaking parts. It was discovered that the Irma robot Crang Subprime was controlling was taken from Rook, who not only created Irma, but also bears some resemblance to her. She wears Gothic-inspired attire. She has short black hair with one crimson and one purple clip just on the right part of her head. Irma wears eyeglasses, purple nail paint, and lipstick. She's dressed in a black tank tee, with a white shattered glass logo, a pink tank top underneath with red stripes, huge boots that go all the way up her calves, high black socks, one red honeycomb bracelet on one wrist, 3 on the other, and red ellipse glasses. April is a little taller than she is. Irma's human illusion resembles Velma Dinkley quite well, both physically and psychologically. Irma was a lot more believable as a Krang spy than the Ms. Campbells or the Normans were. In particular, she maintained a natural human speech pattern forever and even possessed a convincingly rigid yet adaptable disposition that seemed fairly typical of an adolescent female. She even showed signs of human traits, including emotions, expressions on her face, and illnesses like fainting.
He's right! We can't stay here! And we've got to carry on the fight against Crang at Dimension X!
The Neutrinos. Friends of the Turtles, the Neutrinos are a species of extraterrestrial anthropomorphic aliens from Dimension X. These fictional characters made their debut in the installment Hot-Rodding Teenagers from Dimension X of the 1987 cartoon series. Their name derives from their diminutive size. Their odd haircuts and pointed ears may easily make others recognize them. Their homeworld may also go by the moniker of Neutrino. They're an invading, tiny extraterrestrial species that serves Lord Vringath Dreg and Vrax Bellabone. They specialize in rendering victims unconscious while attempting to extract information from their minds. Vrax Bellabone dispatched the neutrinos to influence Michelangelo's thoughts. Due to their minuscule size, they were assigned the moniker Neutrinos, although their actual name is unclear, according to Fugitoid. The neutrinos are transported through amoeba-shaped vessels. They seem robotic and are the Ninja Turtles' adversaries, unlike their 1987 counterparts. The neutrinos abhor conflict, in contrast to other people that live in Dimension X. At best, the other people who live in Dimension X recognize their peacefulness and aversion to violence with contempt. Even though they're perfectly capable of handling guns in the direst cases, neutrinos, especially the younger ones, choose to live a life full of pleasure and happiness instead. The first neutrinos to be seen in the series were the youths Carla, Dask, and Zack. They're unintentionally sent to Earth through the transdimensional portal of the Technodrome, where they quickly become buddies with the Turtles. The neutrinos are indeed the ones that reveal to the Turtles of Crang that before being expelled from Realm X and losing his body, he was the greatest warlord of that dimension. It should be observed that in the classic English version, the neutrinos utilize American jargon from the 1950s and 60s.
And old scumbugs itching for a piece of you turtles, too.
Not to
Scumbug. In the episode Night of the Rogues from the 1987 animated series, Scumbug made one appearance. In an effort to beat the Turtles, Shredder summoned several of their former adversaries, including Leatherhead, Rat King, Tempestra, Slash, Anthrax, and Chrome Dome. A polite exterminator who was hired to solve the Technodrome's insect issue unintentionally oozed and morphed into the creepy, disgusting Scumbug. In order to avoid dealing with other clients, Scumbug mounted Shredder as his expert assassin. This arrogant roach can eat his way through virtually anything because of his toxic pinchers and his anti-turtle spray tank. He's a formidable turtle-busting insect thanks to his powerful claw and bulletproof shell. And when things become difficult, this roach organizes other bugs to support him. Scumbug is the Pied Piper of the creepy and the crawly, telepathically communicating with evil insects through his incredibly sensitive antennae. If you listen for the crunch, you'll know when you're close to his troops. Scumbug is a stocky-built human hybrid purple cockroach. In contrast to most other mutants, he still has human skin on some parts of his body and most of his right arm. He proved in the sewers that his mandibles have the strength to eat through metal. Scumbug believes that insects should control the Earth and takes pleasure in his roach mutant physiology. Scumbug was terrified to be in the city's extermination building, and like Anthrax, he was happy that the Ninja Turtles would destroy the Bug Zapper building as well. Since Scumbug seems to despise the idea of insect exterminators, it's unclear from the series whether he was once a human exterminator like his toy counterpart. Muckman. The Turtles have Muckman on their side. Garson Grunge, a once humble sewer worker turned garbage guy, was struck by a canister of mutagen ooze and converted into a mutant mass of living trash. Although he may have a frightening aspect, he's actually rather amiable. He's Joe Eyeball's repulsive mutant sidekick. Grunge is shown serving as a garbage guy when, while looking into a disturbance involving a battle amidst Bebop and Rocksteady and the Turtles, he's hit on the head with a container of mutagen. He must have slipped into the dumpster because he transforms into a 6-foot-tall anthropomorphic creature made completely of trash with a missing right eye and a partially exposed skeleton. Rocksteady and Bebop decide to benefit from this and look for Muckman after hearing about it. Rocksteady and Bebop persuade Muckman to assist rob a vacant Crang lab by telling him it contains a cure, and Joe Eyeball gets dubious of Bebop and Rocksteady's motives. April and the Turtles find Joe Eyeball and Muckman, who tries to blame the Turtles for his mutation, but both organizations have to leave before Joe and Muckman enters the battle, and the Turtles lose. The Turtles attempt to talk with Muckman, but Bebop's grenade takes them all out. When Rocksteady tosses Muckman inside the lab, the Krang's traps blast him. When Muckman discovers the chemical, another trap blasts him. Rocksteady steals the substance from Muckman with the Turtles' assistance. When Muckman fires slime toward Rocksteady and Bebop, they flee as the chemical catches fire and explodes. Muckman dissimulates the existence of the Turtles by informing John Grody about them being simply humans dressed as characters like the Pulverizer. Alongside his fellow mutanimals, Muckman battles the Triceratons. He prevents Triceraton troops from trampling Mondo Gecko to death, but he perishes when Earth is obliterated. Ray Fillet. The 1987 TV installment Rebel Without a Fin of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series featured Ray, a mutant fish hybrid. The majority of the time, Ray is a mutated manta ray that occasionally joins the Ninja Turtles as an ally. Dr. Polydorius built Ray using a variety of marine life, including blowfish, scorpionfish, octopus, electric eel, and manta rays. In order to sink the town under the sea as a home for his species of fish people, Polydorus gave Ray the command to lay explosives in certain locations across the sewer. Ray notices April ONeil, whom he then takes hostage. The turtles run across Ray as they're looking for her. The two sides engage in combat, but Ray's armament of scorpionfish, quills, and eel electricity ultimately triumphs. Before anybody can grab Ray, he disappears into the sewer. Dr. Polydorius escapes, but the turtles are unable to escape their trap. When April unintentionally opens the emergency floodgate, Ray is able to flee into the sea once more and is content to stay there throughout his entire life. With wings like a manta ray and a protruding octopus tentacle as a tail, Ray resembles a fishman. Ray possessed a laid-back surfer demeanor. In general, he was glum and uninterested. Ray told his maker that he was not certain about the ethics of his activities and that he didn't really have to live in a town when he was given the task of planting bombs in the sewers for Polydorius. But Polydorius intimidated him into complying with the plan. At the conclusion of the episode, Ray expressed his relief at being rid of Polydorius and that he enjoyed his privacy. Ray is mostly a manta ray, but he also has superhuman abilities from many other species. Ray acquired electrical abilities from the electrical eel and has the ability to shoot lightning bolts from his fingers. Ray can quickly shoot quills from his body from the scorpionfish, can blow himself up entirely with the blowfish, and can squid out ink from it.
This morning.
Uncle Darius!
Darius Dunn. After the passing of his mom and dad and what was meant to be his last remaining relative, Darius Dunn, often written Dunn, became Cody Jones' uncle and guardian. In Fast Forward, Darius Dunn served as the CEO with ONeil Tech. Cody had been named chairman of ONeil Tech because he was not yet senior enough to take over administration because Cody still was too young. However, his intentions were derailed when the Ninja Turtles, as well as their teacher, Master Splinter, were accidentally sent to the future by Cody. The Turtles, who had never believed Darius due to his dubious character, worked diligently to expose his illicit acts, but they were initially unable to do so because of his position and slyness, which allowed him to stay out of trouble. Cody and the Turtles eventually found the weapons manufacturing at ONeil Tech's base. He shared his innocent persona when the Turtles and Cody revealed that he was actually producing weapons, and he made the decision to be clean with them when they realized the truth. Cody used his Turtle X armor to fight his uncle despite having more firepower, and the Turtles once more vanquished their evil rivals. After this, he can be seen sheltering among the Dark Turtles, who saved him after Cody vanquished him, but he just views them as minions, which he can easily command with his combat gear and keep safe from harm by implanting hypnotic thoughts into them. The Dark Turtles are once more going to be destroyed by the command of Darius. He throws them a steak to eat and growls that he wishes they'd choke on it when they fail again and again. It's thought that he was ultimately defeated off-screen. Darius Dunn is a tall, chubby man wearing a red tie, a red buttoned-up shirt underneath a black jacket, grey slacks and black shoes. He has a monocle and black mutton chops on either side of his mouth. When in Cody's company or in public, he puts up a kind, upbeat facade, whereas in reality, he's a cunning schemer who works behind other people's backs. Darius's fate was unfortunately unknown, because Season X of the Fast Forward television series was cancelled, although it's very plausible that he was killed off-screen and then jailed. Vin Beanie. In the IDW timeline, Vin Beanie is an extraterrestrial attorney who represents Crang in the trial of Crang. Hakar serves as Krang's covert, extrajudicial assassin, while Vin Beanie serves as his outward legal defense, since Crang would not accept the prospect of an actual conviction. Vin Beanie is an unbiased professional who has no stake in Krang's actual guilt or innocence, but they show skill in representing their client in court. The Turtles are still superstars on planet Neutrino, even if they may be oddities on Earth or commoners in Dimension X. Princess Trib still has a thing for Michelangelo, and he feels the same way. Neutrino provides protection for the Turtles, and Donatello offers to assist Fugitoid in presenting his case in the alleged trial of the century. Since Crang has retained Counselor Vin Beanie, a tenacious defense lawyer, they'll need all the assistance they can get. His greater legal experience soon becomes apparent. Both Vin Beanie and Fugitoid present their opening arguments before the utterly gluttonous Judge Gorath. The prosecution speaks first, similar to how cases are heard in Earth courts. Much of the tangible proof of Krang's war crimes was destroyed when the planet Utrominon was destroyed. As a result, the majority of Fugitoid's evidence comes from eyewitness testimony. Many warlords in real life on Earth have this trait, and Vin Beanie uses this to first raise doubts about Fugitoid's claim. Over the years, the Ninja Turtles have told many stories in a variety of genres that have never been in a courtroom drama, and definitely not a space-set courtroom drama. As a result, it's a delight to see this case develop using a blend of conventional methods and extraterrestrial devices. Vin Beanie depends on details that could be real, including how Krang's enhanced interrogation of Bean Go was legitimate because he coerced her into taking part in it. Due to a contract, Anamon's testimony is rendered invalid. The courtroom sequences are entertaining, especially as they establish many of Dimension X's legal practices. Observing Vin Beanie suddenly surpass the ordinarily smart Fugitoid is dramatic and logical. The Fugitoid is a novice prosecutor while being a bright scientist as well as a skilled spy. His first case ever, in fact. In contrast, Vin Beanie is an accomplished lawyer who benefits, whether consciously or unconsciously, from Crang's shady methods. Koya. Shredder's pet falcon was Koya. Koya served as his partner on reconnaissance missions. Adamant about expanding his ranks, Koya was transformed by Shredder into a weapon for the Foot Clan. Finding the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was Koya's initial task, and she succeeded when she discovered them in Northampton, sheltering outside the city as they recovered from their most recent encounter with her master, Shredder. Upon her discovery, Karai gave the order to Koya to wait for reinforcements. The Turtles were then attacked the following day by Koya and Foot Assassin ninjas. They thought Alopex, who had previously left the Foot Clan, had betrayed them, and Raphael assaulted him in a fit of wrath. This attack put his brothers and Splinter at a disadvantage, and up until Leonardo showed up to face her, Koya had the upper hand in her attack against Splinter. She fought until she absolutely could not anymore, and vowed revenge upon her loss, showing incredible tenacity. As far as her powers go, Koya is incredibly obedient to Shredder and the Foot Clan, and will do as instructed. She's fought Leonardo and Raphael separately, either winning or coming to a standstill. She's more than capable of handling herself. She can use her wings as slicing swords and is incredibly swift. Koya has also bragged about her ability to see for many miles. The Falcon is also highly crafty and will do whatever it takes to prevail in battle. Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa is an anthropomorphic reptilian female and has been referred to as the lovely lizard lady on occasion. Most notably, she's named after Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, the Mona Lisa, and has been linked to Raphael, the turtle in various iterations of the property. According to writer and comic book artist Peter Laird, Mona Lisa was originally conceptualized as a female turtle and then later changed because having a female turtle simply seemed uninspiring. In the 1987 TNMT TV series, Mona Lisa was shown to be a young girl who mutated into a reptile and then subsequently began a relationship with Raphael. However, she's also known to have struck up a romantic relationship with Donatello in the comics. This origin story also coincides with her comic history, where she's seen as a mutant and thus a resident of Mutant Town. She was a Caucasian female before her mutation, probably in her late teens or early 20s, with brown hair pulled back in a ponytail with a pink hair tie and dark eyes. She accessorized with gold necklaces, bangles, and heels that matched her pink outfit. Prior to her abduction, a life jacket was also observed on her. After she changed, Mona Lisa had webbed fingers, a very high vertical leap, and used her powerful legs and long tail to attack. She had a yellow torso on her body that resembled a leotard, and she had a salamander-like build. Ace Duck. Ace Duck is an anthropomorphic duck who's often shown to have some connection with planes and being a fighter pilot. Depending on which continuity he appears in, Ace Duck is either an alien or a result of some sort of mutation. In the 2012 TMNT TV series, he was shown to be a mutated duck, a result of experiments by Baxter Stockman during his attempts to make a mutant army for the notorious villain Shredder. In the comics, he's often shown to be an alien from a planet called Perdufus and is a reigning champion of the intergalactic wrestling circuit. He's one Jack Duck. However, despite his strength, his ego almost always becomes his undoing. The IDW comics also portray him as being a fighter pilot. As far as his powers and abilities are concerned, Ace Duck is apparently able to swim, fly, and fight, making him a triple threat. The fighting style that he's known to employ is Taekwondo. However, despite his capabilities, he's not taken seriously by those he encounters, including Shredder. Many people probably don't know about the existence of this cool character, since he's only appeared in a handful of TMNT properties. Tatsu. Tatsu is a TMNT villain, albeit not the main one. He's Shredder's right-hand man, and thus carries out his commands and essentially does his dirty work for him. He's also of Japanese origin and is a master martial artist. Although his exact origins are unknown, he's terribly loyal to Shredder and the Foot Clan, and in various variations, he came all the way to the United States with him. His duties included overseeing the recruitment of the Foot Clan soldiers and coordinating all their plans and battle tactics. In some iterations, his character is also shown to be a woman called Natsu. Tatsu in general has a grumpy demeanor and is often shown to have a terrible temper. In the 1990 film series, Tatsu is shown to be a strict disciplinarian, often beating up and berating the Foot Clan soldiers if they ever failed in their task. He's unwaveringly brutal, and that, coupled with his martial art abilities, make him a terrifying adversary. He's not shown using a weapon of any kind in most of his appearances all throughout the franchise. However, he's understood to be impressively skilled at hand-to-hand combat. Alpha 1. Another villain on the list, Alpha 1 is one of Shredder's henchmen. However, in a world full of anthropomorphic animals, he stands out like a sore thumb due to him resembling a robotic android figure. This character is mainly featured in the 1987 TV Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV series and appears in the episode titled The Foot Soldiers Are Revolting. His origin story is quite simple. Shredder wanted an intelligent foot soldier who had the capability of independent, rational thought because, let's face it, the foot soldiers weren't always the brightest of the lot. However, during the programming process, the main computer malfunctioned, which led to the device getting overloaded, and Alpha 1 was born, far more intelligent than Shredder had ever intended him to be. He also gained the ability to control all the other foot robots. He's also notably the only foot soldier who was able to speak at the time due to his enhanced abilities. However, once he was imbued with new power, he no longer wished to serve beings who were inferior to him, and thus he decided to transport all organic life forms to Dimension X, where he and other robots would rule supreme and control all the inferior beings. The Turtles obviously took him seriously and defeated him before he could carry out his twisted plan, transporting him to an unknown dimension instead. Eric Sachs. Eric Sachs is a human and the founder and CEO of Sachs Industries and also Shredder's student. Sachs was a twisted man and a villain in his own right. His most notable and prominent portrayal is in the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where he was played by William Fichtner. On an American military base in Okinawa, Japan, Eric Sachs was born. Sachs grew up as an outcast because his father was in the military but was killed in action in Vietnam. Oroku Saki, a sensei who took him in and ingrained in Sachs a love of Japanese culture and honor, took him in. He was particularly fascinated by a tale in which a strong alchemist vanquished a wicked warlord who had polluted the town's water supply. Sachs eventually relocated to New York City in 1999 after establishing his highly profitable global conglomerate, Sachs Industries, and rising to the status of a successful businessman and scientist. He collaborated with Dr. ONeil, a scientist there, to develop a mutagen, which he planned to utilize as a cure for a plague Saki, the Shredder, and he would unleash on New York. Sachs wanted to act heroically by using the antidote. However, his plan was stopped in its tracks and he was subsequently defeated by the Turtles. Sachs was a highly savvy businessman with an unparalleled intellect. He was smart enough to build his own business from scratch and then use his amassed wealth to fulfill his desires, no matter how dark or twisted. He was also an exceptionally good marksman. Vernon Fenwick. Vernon is a cinematographer and reporter for Channel 6. He competes against April O'Neil as well. He's well known for being a coward, serving as a minor enemy, and sometimes as the Ninja Turtles' reluctant ally. This character was especially developed for the 1987 TV program. Vernon's character was later brought back to life for the 2014 movie, when he seemed to have feelings for April and to be a Ninja Turtles ally. Fenwick typically serves as the Turtles' secondary nemesis. Vern Thompson and Vernon Fenwick frequently accused the Turtles of committing crimes they were trying to stop. Fenwick is a man with ambition, and he occasionally attempted to succeed April as a news reporter, but his overall aversion to taking chances, fear in the face of practically everything, pride, and a certain amount of awkwardness were his downfalls. He was once kidnapped by the Turtles and made to use audio equipment that neither April nor the Turtles knew how to use, while blindfolded. He must not have intended to betray the Turtles or their lair when he blindfolded himself. It was repeatedly demonstrated that Vernon exhibited greater bravery when confronted with a challenging scenario, as in the episode Leatherhead Meets the Rat King. He's also notably highly ticklish, something Don Totelli once took advantage of. Don Totelli performs his infamous tickle torture on Vernon after he and April were abducted. Vernon refuses to divulge the crime boss any information, and April actually commends him for not giving in to pressure.
My name is Professor Zayton Honeycutt, and you, my friends, are about to embark on a
Fugitoid. Professor Zayton Honeycutt, popularly known as the Fugitoid, is a robot with a human consciousness and a friend of the Turtles. Fugitoid, a smart scientist trapped within a robot body, is the Turtles' most dependable space ally. Fugitoid, formerly known as Professor Zayton Honeycutt, is a former space alien who now controls the Turtles in a spaceship that is fused to his cybernetic body. Fugitoid helps the Turtles find the Triceratons and stop them from completely destroying the world by lending them his spacesuits, weapons, and extensive knowledge of space. Professor Honeycutt has superhuman intelligence, which he frequently employs to his advantage. He's a super genius inventor who's produced some amazing technologies, including alien language translators, his own robot body, and the Ulysses, a time-traveling tachyonic warping spaceship. Through his secluded humanoid brain, he's also acquired psychic abilities. Despite the fact that Fugitoid's physiology is not designed for violence, he's still very powerful in a battle thanks to this capability. He can start a huge explosion if the fusion core gets unstable because his robot body is powered by one. Honeycutt can use the core to produce a nuclear blast powerful enough to obliterate beings that are as dense and resilient as the Triceratons. Overloading tainted AI like Overmind and computer systems is another way he can use the fusion core. His body can also connect to other gadgets, allowing his thoughts to communicate information digitally, and even enabling him to break into objects like huge space stations. The moderate blasters put in Fugitoid's hands further allow him to telekinetically move objects as well as defend himself if necessary. Sally Pride. Sally Pride is a mutant lioness originating in the IDW continuity of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She was initially spotted incarcerated at Knoll Group's rail yard facility with Man Ray in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutanimals No. 2. She was a previous member of Old Hobbs' Mighty Mutanimals. Sally was the Mutanimals' principal pilot, mechanic, and driver while she was living with them. Later, in Mutant Town, she also worked as one of Hobbs' enforcement commanders in the area. But as Sally's revulsion with Hobb's more immoral behavior grew, she was eventually compelled to condemn Hob and leave the organization that had served as her own family. Sally has been a casual friend of the Turtles for a long time, like the majority of the Mutanimals aside from Hob, and after leaving the Mutanimals, she has also forged close relationships with Jennica, Alopex, and Mona Lisa. In the IDW continuity, Sally has overcome her difficult upbringing to become a very positive, brave, and entrepreneurial person. She exudes assurance and is cordial and amiable. Her biggest source of pride is her skill as a driver and pilot, which was honed via training by the scientists of the ONeil group and her innate reflexes. It's unknown to what extent her confidence matches or exceeds her real ability, however, it's safe to assume that she's pretty damn strong. Last but not least, it's interesting to note that her name is a play on the name of scientist and astronaut Sally Ride. Harold Lilja. Donatello's arch-nemesis and a scientist from the IDW comics is Harold Lilja. Among his other creations is the anti-gravity gauntlet. He's a great inventor who, along with his ex-wife and business partner Libby Meitner, was one of the top figures in the scientific community. He's also likely the real brains behind their inventions. Harold, however, became a resentful, cranky hermit who only communicated online with other thinkers after Meitner eventually deceived him and took credit for his work for herself. Despite this, Harold continued to hope for a chance to reclaim his place among the world's top scientists. Donatello, who went by the screen moniker Does Machines 84, became Harold's silent internet adversary when Harold occasionally infuriated him by criticizing other people's ideas, much to the displeasure of Donatello. However, Harold once attended an expo in an attempt to show himself, but because his anti-gravity gauntlet and accompanying cloaking technology were not yet finished, he was eliminated from the competition. But Baxter Stockman, the expo's sponsor, noticed him and wanted to use Harold's innovations to track down the Ninja Turtles for Crang. Donatello, who was also at the expo by chance, had grown to respect Harold's brilliance and convinced him not to ally himself with Shredder. Since that incident, the two have become friends, so to speak, and have collaborated on multiple missions. Lita, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 101, introduces an unnamed albino turtle who later becomes the character called Lita in the IDW canon. The girl, who was formerly a young child dumped on the streets by her guardian, was exposed to the mutagen bomb while wandering the alleys of New York and turned into an albino turtle. She was alone and homeless on the streets of Mutant Town when Jennica saw her, lurking outside Alopex's shelter, and made an effort to talk to the child. The youngster, however, was terrified and fled, hiding from both Jennica and the approaching Mutanimal enforcers. Later, she encountered the mutant weasels, and she became friends with them and taught them how to make snowballs. However, the turtle disappeared from view as Hob arrived to get the weasels. Hob was stopped in his effort to steal the weasels after being repelled by Mona Lisa, Jennica, and Sally Pride, and the turtle emerged from hiding to approach the older girls. Jennica asked the albino turtle for a name after learning the names of old Hob's weasels, and the turtle replied that she didn't have a name. Jenny immediately came up with the name Lita, based on the name of her favorite singer, Lita Ford, in response to this. Lita then fled with Jennica, Alopex, Sally Pride, and the freshly released weasels, despite her shy and hesitant nature. She and the weasels were eventually brought to the dojo that the turtles were building, where she got to know them better and even indicated a desire to accompany them to a heavy metal performance. Pretty cute, right? Mousers. These robots called Mousers were created by Baxter Stockman and are thus the Ninja Turtles' adversaries. They initially showed up in Mirage comics. Most of the time, Mousers tend to stick with the same basic design. Mousers are bipedal, chicken-shaped robots that stand between 1 and 2 feet tall. Their heads are huge and bulbous, approaching the size of their bodies, and they have keen jaws of steel that can chew through a variety of materials. The Mousers also have a hollow cavity in their body that can be utilized to carry objects or materials that have been swallowed by them, and they can climb walls using their gripping toes. Standard Mousers lack independent thought and limited artificial intelligence, and are largely controlled externally. In Mirage Comics, Dr. Baxter Stockman initially developed the Mousers with the intention of selling them to the government as a means of eradicating the rat problem in New York City, but its maker used them to rob treasures from bank vaults. Later, Baxter's assistant, April ONeil, unintentionally discovered his true motivations, which was to steal billions from the government since he thought he was wiser than they were. In the series, April was eventually cornered by many Mousers when she got out of a hidden lab inside Baxter's compound and into the sewers. The turtles suddenly emerged from the shadows and eliminated all the Mousers. In this specific iteration, each Mouser stood around 60 centimeters tall, could carry up to 5 rats, and was managed by a central computer using radio waves. Zom. In the IDW timeline, Zom has taken over as the Triceratons commander from General Zog, who held the position before her. She is one of the Triceraton clones, people who were copied from the first herd, which was lost. In From the Heart for the Herd, it was revealed that Zom and Zog, the sole Triceraton still alive who wasn't a clone, had developed a strong personal attachment. Later, it was Zom who made a disturbing finding regarding Zog's birth parents in the Utrom database, setting off both Zog and Zom's rebellion against the Utrom Empire. In Invasion of the Triceratons, Zom personally made their first formal face-to-face encounter with the profoundly prejudiced and paranoid Agent Bishop, who immediately attempted to assassinate the whole landing party. Zom fought back, but Splinter's Foot Clan ambushed and captured both her and Bishop. She managed to escape the betrayal and rejoin the other Triceratons beneath. She then gave the command to invade New York fully, with no care about the Turtles' presence. While Bishop was fighting the Triceratons' main army, Splinter tried to murder her, but the Turtles interfered and tried to protect Zom from their father. She was eventually transferred to the Turtle-suggested coexistence zone outside the range of the Foot Clan, to which she agreed. She's shown to be a brave and courageous fighter with a lot of spirit. Seri. Seri is Zom's daughter in the IDW continuity. After their Burno Island truce agreement, Zom started experiencing intermittent sickness for a few months. To determine the cause, she went to see Jorah, the local Triceraton physician. Jorah discovered that Zom had gotten pregnant in some way. The egg was laid, and when it hatched, Zom's daughter Seri was born, the first Triceraton to be born since Zog, which was considered a feat in itself. While Raphael of the Utroms views her birth as the beginning of history repeating itself, believing that too many Triceratons would spark another uprising, her birth is viewed by the Triceratons as an impossible event that surprises them and improves their status. In Mirage Comics, her origin story is different. The princess of the Protoceratons, Seri the Regenta of Enud Minor, made an appearance in Volume 4 of the Mirage series. She might have been Michelangelo's most committed partner. They snuck away from her security to tour the Northeast Shore when he was supposed to be the tour leader. However, their love story would end in disaster, with Michelangelo going to jail after supposedly impregnating Seri, and with the series coming to an abrupt halt. Not much is known about the progress of their relationship and alleged offspring. Future Raphael, Donatello, Leonardo, and Michelangelo. Our beloved Turtles each have a future versions of themselves that is worth a mention on this list. In the 2012 TV series, fans were introduced to future versions of the Turtles, starting with Leonardo. In the Mutant Apocalypse's other reality, Leonardo turned into the wasteland warlord Maximus Kong. In actuality, according to the production order of the 2012 TV show, he is the last antagonist. Leonardo helped his brothers escape the mutagen bomb's explosion while bearing most of the damage himself. He misplaced his recollection of his previous existence as Leonardo and was transformed into a huge, hideous version of himself. He eventually evolved into the warlord Maximus Kong, determined to rule the post-apocalyptic globe. The mutagen bomb had caused Leo to become double mutated. He became a terrifying adversary for the other three Ninja Turtles thanks to his mutation, which increased his strength and speed. A green light emanated from Leo's eyes as he transformed into Maximus Kong. Leo's eyes were restored to normal as he regained his memory. This represents how the mutagen has distorted his perception and, consequently, his memories of the past. Next, we come to Michelangelo, also known by the moniker the Holy Chalupa. This version of him is a hermit who lives in a desert wasteland pizza parlor that's been abandoned. Mikey, Ice Cream Kitty, and Chompy all made it out of the desert wasteland alive. At the conclusion of the first episode of the Mutant Apocalypse trilogy, Myra mentions the Holy Chalupa. She depicts him as a wise old man who can read the tattooed map of paradise on her arm. Donnie assumes the Holy Chalupa is Mikey right away because it's one of his catchphrases. Additionally, Mikey's transformation into a strange desert hermit fits right into who he is. When Raphael and Donatello were on the verge of being devoured and killed by a grown-up Chompy, Mikey intervened, recognizing his siblings, and took them to his house. Mikey's alter ego is called Holy Chalupa, after his catchphrase. In the Mutant Apocalypse alternate reality, Raphael, also known by the moniker Red Stripe, is the main character in the 2012 TV series Season 5 episodes of The Wasteland Warrior, The Impossible Desert, and Carmageddon. Raphael has evolved into a strong combatant known by the moniker Red Stripe, for whom nothing is more important than surviving. Raph's inability to recall some details of his background before the events of the Mutant Apocalypse arc is likely a result of a side effect of the mutagen catastrophe. Raph regained his memory thanks to the discovery and reunification of his family's surviving members. Coming to Donatello, the mutagen bomb detonated, leaving Donatello's body severely damaged and destroyed. But at the same time, he was cybernetically connected to a new version of his previous robot, Metalhead, which is listed as Donbot in the credits of the series. His consciousness and mind were implanted within the mechanical body of Metalhead Mark II. He initially just follows Raphael during his expedition over the wrecked Earth in his new identity as Donbot. Cyber Shredder. The Cyber Shredder is an awakened-to-life cybernetic engram of Shirel, the Utrom Shredder. The Back to the Sewer season of the 2003 cartoon series features it as the ultimate computer program and the Ninja Turtles' primary foe. It's one of Shredder's 5 iterations in the series. Despite being effectively a duplicate of Shirel, it initially appears reluctant to cooperate with either its original self or the Demon Shredder, as the trio of them fight in combat. They eventually work together to vanquish Splinter and the Turtles. Cyber Shredder can break into the networking systems of cyberspace because he's a cybernetic engram that was combined with viral. He can then use this information and upgrade as needed. Cyber Shredder can also traverse and exert influence over cyberspace because he's a digital being. He's also capable of infecting various computer programs. Additionally, he possesses a variety of skills such as shape-shifting and manipulating virtual circumstances, and the only limitations are those imposed by the outside world. Being an engram of the Utrom Shredder, Cyber Shredder has a lot of intelligence and fighting ability, and he uses his bladed gauntlets most often in battle. Cyber Shredder is also a physical being with superhuman strength and reflexes that have been enhanced by careful programming and information upgrades. He still has some of his cybernetic manipulation abilities, albeit it's uncertain to what extent. He has the ability to lengthen his arms and claws, and has even used his left claw to enclose himself in a force field. He's also capable of launching a cybernetic energy blast potent enough to knock the Turtles off their feet. Masato. Masato was Hamato Yoshi's sensei and had previously served as the Foot Clan's chief. He was specifically designed for the IDW comics to use this character. According to legend, Masato and his closest buddy, Oroku Maji, were both born in Japan in the 16th century and were members of the Foot Clan, which was established and ruled for more than a century by the former samurai Takeshi Tatsuo. The murderous attitude of their clan head as well as his seeming immortality severely upset both men. When they unintentionally caught Tatsuo being visited by the shape-changing sorceress Kutsune during the conquering of Lord Daisuke's territories, their suspicions of supernatural guidance were verified. They ultimately decided to plot Takeshi's overthrow and murder together with several other like-minded ninjas. They eventually learned that the monthly elixir Kutsune handed him was what was keeping him from aging, and that the Tetsu Oni had given it to him in exchange for Japan's slow conquest. They didn't act until the following month, just as Takeshi was about to consume the potion. It was fairly easy for Maji and Masato to kill Takeshi, but Kutsune managed to get away. Post this, Maji and Masato took over the leadership of the clan and led them into a time of peace. Masato also became tasked with mentoring Hamato Yoshi. Unfortunately, he was killed by Saki, who was the reincarnation of Takeshi Tatsuo.
The flying dude up in the sky? His name's Silver Sentry!
Silver Sentry, a superhero resembling Superman with a New York City base. Silver Sentry is Michelangelo's close friend and occasional business partner, primarily appearing in the 2003 TV series. He resembles Superman from DC Comics. He was first introduced in the unconvincing Turtle Titan. The Turtles saw Silver Sentry assist the fire department with a burning building and rescue a youngster who was trapped inside while out on a training run. He's the source of Michelangelo's inspiration for wanting to become a Turtle Titan and live like a superhero. Later, when Michelangelo is in danger, stuck on a runaway bus, the Sentry appears and saves him. He cautions Michelangelo that working as a superhero is risky, and then leaves Mikey behind as he takes off to face his archenemy, Dr. Malignus, after learning about the insect robots controlling people. He possesses superhuman strength and speed, and is an upstanding superhero. In fact, he also joins the Justice Force at one point, serving as its leader. He's also able to fly, and has X-ray vision along with having super breath and super hearing. Highly invulnerable, he's a resilient and strong hero who is also able to project energy blasts onto his enemies. King Komodo. As you can already tell from his name, King Komodo is a giant Komodo dragon and was introduced in the universe the Turtles belong to by Image Comics. Originally, he was simply one of Go Komodo's pets. However, during the Turtles' attempted rescue of Splinter, this particular Komodo dragon was accidentally injected with a synthetic mutagen that was apparently mixed with Go Komodo's DNA. Post his mutation, he was believed to be dead, his death attributed to the blast that destroyed Go Komodo's mansion. However, this was not the case. He was instead rescued and trained by Pimiko. Unfortunately, he chose to go down the path of evil, and in one of the issues, TMNT number 17, he even killed 2 innocent children. But it was seen in later issues that he developed sentience, thanks to Go Komodo's DNA that was mixed with the synthetic mutagen that was the source of his mutation, which also gave him the ability to transform into a human-like physical form and appearance. Despite having a violent past, he eventually makes his peace with the Turtles, striking up a truce with them. As far as his specific powers and abilities are concerned, King Komodo was extremely strong, with the majority of his strength being concentrated in his jaws. He could bite through practically anything. He's also able to somewhat hypnotize people along with being able to shapeshift between his human and beast forms. Elizabeth ONeil. One of the few humans on this list is Elizabeth ONeil, and if that name sounds somewhat familiar to you, it's because Elizabeth ONeil is April O'Neil's mother. She's depicted as a Caucasian woman with short brown hair and glasses, and, like her daughter, she was also a journalist in the IDW continuity. What we know about her is a little heartbreaking. Ever since April's father and her husband John had suffered from a stroke, he'd become wheelchair-bound and thus completely dependent on Elizabeth for daily activities. She diligently took care of him and even moved from Albany to Northampton for a better environment. We meet her in the comics when April takes back her boyfriend Casey Jones to her family, and the Turtles and Splinter tag along with them, making their first meeting with April's mother. Elizabeth has since used her investigative journalism experience to help her daughter and the Turtles on occasion, and is actually quite the badass if you really think about it. In fact, she was the one who gave the Turtles information about the ooze, a green substance that originated from the planet Ultrominon, and was a mutagen, using her skills as a journalist. Herman the Hermit Crab. Herman is a hermit crab, but not just any hermit crab, mind you. He is a mutated hermit crab and a member of the mighty Mutanimals, along with being an ally of the Turtles in the IDW continuity. Herman's story is quite the cool one. He was originally a regular hermit crab for sale in a pet store somewhere in New York City. However, one day his world was turned upside down. The mutant alley cat, Old Hob, stole him from the store he was housed in, and with help from Lindsay Baker, injected him with a mutagen and a psychotropic compound, turning him into a mutated hermit crab for the purpose of increasing the ranks of the mutant army for the fight against humanity. Appearance-wise, Herman is a giant hermit crab dressed in green military garb. His right claw is larger than his left, and in accordance with his species, he uses a waste container as a shell. The container is wrapped around his body like a backpack and contains a variety of military tools, such as a 7.62mm mini Gatling gun, grenades, a mini missile launcher, anti-aerial artillery, a 4-shot bazooka, and a submachine gun. Herman also has a mechanical cybernetic claw that appears functionally similar to his amputated biological claw. Herman also serves as a live tank and heavy weapon support for the mighty Mutanimals. He uses 2 pairs of hind legs from within the trash shell to control and activate all weaponry concealed inside the container. His mindset is firmly grounded in that of the military. He views both himself and his companions as fellow soldiers and only speaks in terms of the military. Hamato Yoshi. Hamato Yoshi, also known as Splinter, is the mentor of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's lovingly referred to as Sensei by the Turtles and is their adoptive father. It's in the 1987 TMNT animated series that his origin story and background are fully developed, showing Splinter and Hamato Yoshi as being the same person. Earlier in the original films, Splinter was shown to be Hamato Yoshi's pet rat, but that origin story has largely been done away with, and the widely accepted story is that Splinter is Hamato Yoshi, reincarnated. As Splinter, he's depicted as a wise, elderly rat wearing traditional-esque robes. He's an intelligent and skilled martial artist, yep, despite being a rat, and has a calm demeanor. Fiercely protective of his adopted sons, he's often rescued them when they've been in trouble. He also has a lot of willpower and never gives up without a fight. As a human, he's known to be the greatest shadow warrior to ever emerge out of the Foot Clan, a master of ninjutsu, cementing his place as a lethal ninja master in Japan. However, depending on the continuity in which you come across this character, for various different reasons he was forced to flee Japan and ended up in America. In his early life, he'd been trained by Masato and was brought up to be a dutiful and honorable ninja. He also went on to become the leader of the Foot Clan before he was forced to leave, and has since spent his life fighting evil, defeating criminals and guiding the Turtles in their quest for justice. Victor. Victor is another ninja, but this time not from Japan. The Savate Ninja, a French ninja clan, was led by Victor. He was sent on a mission to recover a tribute of diamonds being given to the Foot Clan while he was initially Fabrice's second-in-command. He later declared during a conflict with Karai that he was not going to pay tribute to the Foot. It's understood that Victor assumed the role of leader when Fabrice was detained. He came into conflict with the Foot Clan during the City Falls story arc, when the Savate Ninja clan tried to steal a shipment of equipment that was being delivered by Karai and some other Foot Clan soldiers. They were strong and quick and made light work of the Foot Clan soldiers. However, their efforts were thwarted when a brainwashed Leonardo showed up with backup, pushing them back. They defeated all the soldiers and let only one of them go back to his master, presumably Victor, in this case, to send him a message, telling him that the Foot Clan would retaliate if they were ever disrespected like that by the Savate. This further led to a complicated war between the Foot Clan and various other mafia families, and even though Victor was criticized for his violent methods, he did not stop. He went to terrible lengths, like mailing a severed hand to Saki. In the end, his brash approach is what led to his downfall, as he was decapitated by Shredder, who wanted to make an example out of him. Don't mess with the Foot Clan. Message received. Daimyo. Ever heard of the Battle Nexus? Well, the Battle Nexus is a dimensional nexus that hosts various fighting competitions between contestants hailing from many different realities. Daimyo is the master of the Battle Nexus. He's thought to be a great warrior who had supposedly been the one to introduce ninjutsu to Earth, along with wielding the war staff. He primarily appeared in the 2003 TV series and is shown to be a huge, hulking, aged warrior with green eyes and white hair who wears a golden mask. On his forehead, he also has an orange third eye tattoo. The Battle Nexus Master, Daimyo, is a gentle and honest warrior who takes his responsibilities seriously. When people break his regulations, Daimyo becomes irate. Although he's kind to his son, Uesama, he frequently corrects him for being conceited. But when it appeared that the rift had killed both Draco and his beloved son, he was overcome with despair. Later, in the real world, he's depicted as being quite elderly and frail, as well as grieving the loss of his son. He became considerably more enraged, heartless, brutal, and hostile toward Leonardo and Usagi as a result of being under the control of Ultimate Draco, and he accused them of being responsible for the loss of his son. He did finally reconcile with them as the mind control waned. Anchovy. Anchovy was a velociraptor named by Raphael in the IDW continuity. He appears in TMNT, Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything as a baby velociraptor who's found and taken in by them and then subsequently kicked out of their prehistoric gang because Anchovy turned out to be a runt. He was later found by Raphael while he was traveling through time, and that's when he named the little dinosaur Anchovy. He was subsequently seen in the back of Bebop and Rocksteady's cruiser, and he continued to hang out with them in TMNT. Bebop and Rocksteady hit the road. However, it's in this storyline that Anchovy becomes a mutated dinosaur. In the first issue itself, Bebop and Rocksteady start retro-mutating, and thus, when they first realize that Rocksteady's ear has turned back into a human ear, they decide that cutting it off is the best course of action. So, Rocksteady, panic-stricken at his retro-mutation, cuts off his ear with a knife, throwing it away. Anchovy had other plans, however, and rushed behind the severed ear. Once he finds it, he eats it, which results in him becoming a mutant. He starts growing in size, no longer a runt thanks to Rocksteady's ear. Not only does he become gigantic in size, but he also gains intelligence to some degree and is able to handle weapons and firearms. He's quite the interesting character as far as innovation is concerned. An armed dinosaur is definitely an out-there concept.
Your toy doesn't work on me anymore.
Neutralizer. Another villain on our list, the Turtles have no dearth of enemies it seems, is Neutralizer. Neutralizer is most notably known as Michelangelo's arch-nemesis and hails from a race called the Salamandrians. He first appeared in the 2012 TMNT series in an episode titled Operation Breakout and went on to become a recurring antagonist in the show. He has a high level of intelligence like certain other mutants, yet it's not enough for him to be able to speak English fluently on his own. However, he's skilled at handling weapons, and his arsenal consists of saw blades, missiles, explosive mines, lasers, and missiles. His tail is also equipped with blades for combat purposes. Interestingly, the Neutralizer can also use his tail to catch and restrain his enemy. He was seen eating a Crang alive and in its whole, indicating that he had a strong appetite. He has amazing strength, endurance, and speed. His power allowed him to snag robots from Crang or turtles. He demonstrates his high level of toughness by withstanding attacks from many Crang lasers, Leo's katana, and Raphael's scythe. He managed to survive even after being crushed by a collapsing car without any obvious bruises, scrapes, or wounds of any kind. Even still, his stamina was so strong that he easily recovered from the weight of the falling car with the help of Mikey. He later developed the capacity to transfer himself any place after being exposed to his broken teleportation device. He was also able to visit Dimension X, thanks to his newfound power to travel to other dimensions. Toad Baron. Toad Baron is a character created by Sophie Campbell for IDW Publishing. A fun fact behind this character is that Campbell herself hates toads and frogs, and thus deliberately created Toad Baron and his minions in such a way that readers would be disgusted by them. This toad monstrosity is a member of the Pantheon, a family of divine animal beings in the IDW continuity, with each member of the Pantheon having jurisdiction over a certain species of animal. However, just because they're divine does not mean they're good. The members of the Pantheon, Toad Baron included, often have shadowy goals and use manipulation tactics to reach them. He makes his debut in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Universe No. 9 and is hedonistic and self-indulgent, relishing the opportunity to influence others to live similarly. At his Den of Delights, he employs a complete team of frog minions, led by Alberto, a mustachioed frog. Notably, it was he who lured Angel, Bridge, and Alopex to the den and kidnapped them, forcing them to participate in his celebrations against their will. He was shocked when the two warriors started fighting and breaking things to persuade him to toss them out, because he had fully anticipated them to eventually give in and stay there happily ever after. He finally agreed, disgusted by their lack of gratitude towards him. He hosted the Pantheon family reunion shortly after, and during this time, the family learned that the Turtles had snuck inside the den and was spying on them. The Toad Baron, in contrast to his family, didn't appear as concerned with finding the Turtles as he was with halting the devastation of his house. Man-Moth. Man-Moth appears both in the IDW continuity as well as the Archie continuity, with differing stories. In the IDW continuity, he's a member of the Pantheon like Toad Baron and is thus one of the divine animal beings of the family. He is, as his name suggests, an anthropomorphic tusked mammoth god who's known to be a savage hunter and a survivalist extraordinaire. He resembles a giant bipedal mammoth and spends most of his time outside. He doesn't appear to take baths either, preferring nature's musk, which does not obstruct his ability to hunt, allowing him to blend in with nature. He also doesn't have a particularly refined palate when it comes to food, as is seen when after killing one of the Rat King's rats, he promptly devours it. To meet with his siblings and eat a filling supper, he went to the Den of Delights in the Pantheon family reunion. The turtles were found to have infiltrated the den and were spying on the immortal family, so the proceedings were stopped and Manmoth attempted to kill them using all of his strength, but he was unsuccessful because they teleported away. In the Archie timeline, Manmoth is a caveman who had a mammoth mutation as a result of wearing clothing made of the animal's hide. The character made his debut in TMNT Meet Archie #1, where a caveman trapped inside a block of ice was pulled from the port by a fisherman after a boat carrying it capsized. Shredder was unable to control Manmoth after injecting the mutagen into the ice, so he gave Bebop and Rocksteady the order to destroy it. Manmoth was then knocked into the frozen harbor by Bebop and Rocksteady before the turtles encountered him, and they were sadly unable to fish him out. Jasper Barlow. Jasper Barlow is a mutant mouse who lives in a mutant town. Mind you, he's not a mutant rat and looks like a humanoid white mouse. He's shown to have patchwork-like skin, white hair, red eyes, and crooked teeth. He's also undergone numerous surgeries, which he's performed on himself. His hands and feet are also bandaged, likely recuperating from various procedures, and he's seen dressed in brown jeans, a red shirt, and a lab coat that's torn and dirty. Jasper Barlow and the rest of the mutants were moved to Mutant Town after becoming altered by Old Hobbs' mutagen bomb, mutating into various animals. He eventually opened up his own cosmetic surgery practice, where he performed numerous experiments on himself and anyone who volunteered and scheduled appointments for many mutants for various transplants and body grafts, claiming he was returning some of the humanity to his fellow mutants. However, there was a dark side to him. Jasper Barlow took great pride in his surgical abilities. He's also shown to have a calm demeanor, although this could just be to make his potential patients feel at ease. In actuality, he was quite unethical in his medical practice and somewhat insane, like a mad doctor. For some reason, Barlow also detested humans, as seen by his adamant refusal to attend to Casey's wounds. Jaguar. In another case of the same name, different character, we have Jaguar. Jaguar is a male Jaguar warrior in the Archie continuity, while in the IDW continuity, Jaguar is a female animal goddess of the Pantheon. In the TMNT Archie comic book series, Jaguar is a Mute Animals member and a friend of the Turtles. He's been raising himself since he was 12 and is the offspring of Jantara and the formidable Jaguar spirit. When Jaguar reached the age of 12, Jantara reared and educated him as her son cub before leaving him to fend for himself as part of her own personal journey to finish the Path of the Four Winds. When Cuddly the Cowlick, a gigantic, otherworldly, disembodied cow's head, left the four turtle brothers in his Brazilian jungle, Jaguar first encountered the TMNT. Jaguar saved them and helped them go back, cementing a solid friendship with them. Jaguar is also the name of the Jaguar goddess in the IDW continuity. She's a Pantheon member, and according to Kitsune, she's the weakest one. But without Chiyu, Jaguar, known to be a valiant warrior of rigid honor and fast justice, seems to be the Pantheon's representative. She's also known for being direct and forthright with her ideas. She frequently disagrees with Kitsune over this, and she despises Kitsune greatly. She hates cowardice. In her opinion, it's the worst trait in a person. Notably, she always carries a Maquatl with her as her weapon of choice. Quanin. Quanin is the Supreme Commander and Emperor of Utrom, hailing from Utrominon. In the IDW comic book series, he was shown as the father of Crang and was known for being a short-sighted Utrom warlord. Even if Crang were to rule, Quanin made it clear that he would never take the helm. Crang joined a squad that was trying to recover control of a jail that Traxxas, one of his father's rivals, had taken over in an effort to prove his worth to his father. Crang assassinated his father's adversary, altered his body so that it could be used as a vehicle, and then took over the prison. When his father noticed that, he became proud of him and addressed him as "my son" for the first time in a long time. Quanin pursued an Utrom empire via conquest of numerous planets. Sadly, Quanin's fame garnered him many adversaries, and Utrominon soon came under attack by naval forces. The war effort was depleting the planet Utrominon of ooze, a substance that was essential to both the survival of the planet and the Utroms, and Professor Zayton Honeycutt knew this. Quanin, however, dismissed the assertion by the professor and persisted in his war efforts until the consumption of ooze rendered Utromon uninhabitable and murdered the majority of Utroms, including Quanin. Quanin could have prevented all of this simply by checking his ambition, but he was far too short-sighted. Maligna. Maligna is a major villain who has faced off against the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and appears in both the Archie comics and IDW publishing continuities. In the IDW comics, Maligna is the head of the parasitic Malignoid swarm. She and her family launched an attack on the planet Neutrino during the trial of Crang arc as they were about to land there. But when Donatello devised a brilliant plan to inflict severe agony and confusion upon the swarm, including Maligna herself, she was at least momentarily repulsed. She moved away from Neutrino and managed to escape, both alive and free. In Archie's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book series, Maligna is a significant adversary. She is the Malignoid's mother and queen. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventure number 12, The Lost World, is where Maligna first made an appearance. The Mighty Mutanimals spin-off, which was cancelled, could have featured her as the Turtles' primary enemy, a planet-looting, mass-killing, genocidal queen. Maligna was Krang's nemesis, and she and her kids would go to other worlds to slay them. When Krang approached her to offer to take her to Earth if her warriors could beat the Turtles, Maligna was first revealed. Additionally, Maligna enjoyed eating her own kids. She was ultimately defeated by the Turtles with the help of Slash. Adversary. The Adversary is a demonic being made up of all the ancient rats that devoured the eggs of the legendary Great Turtle in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe, created by Bill Anderson and Rick McCollum. He was, for all uses and purposes, a demon rat, quite horrifying in appearance. Adversary got stronger over the centuries, feeding off the Great Turtle's subsequent grief until Donatello finally persuaded his brothers to accompany him into the Northampton wilderness, where they eventually arrived to kill it. Donatello soon started to hear the voice of the Great Turtle, encouraging him to stand against Adversary, the enemy of all reptiles, as their trip into the woods progressed from a purely idyllic journey to a mission for the greater good. After being terribly defeated by the Adversary in battle, Donatello realized that the shaman that had been helping him during his combat with the Adversary was actually Leonardo, who was being guided by the Great Turtle. The Great Turtle then led Leonardo to the location of his final conflict with the Adversary, from which he emerged victorious under his guidance. After Leonardo's triumph, the Great Turtle was one of the reptile spirits that broke off from the fossil Mesozoic eggs that were dispersed around the planet, along with the spirits of all the fetuses he'd devoured.
Sublife forms of Earth. I am Captain Mozar of the Triceraton Empire.
Mozar is a veteran of the Triceraton Empire army who rose to the position of captain of the war fleet and reports directly to the Triceraton Emperor. Little else is known about Mozar's past at this time. Additionally, he sustained multiple wounds during combat and proudly displays them. Captain Mozar was the Triceraton fleet's top commander and a captain by profession. He received a temporary promotion to the rank of Admiral. After failing to prevent the Turtles from stealing the first piece of the Heart of Darkness from the Triceratons, he was, however, demoted back to the rank of Captain. Later, a terrible fusion dark matter explosion caused by the Fugitoid crashing his spacecraft, the Heart of Darkness, into the Triceraton fleet caused him to pass away. Mozar possessed the fundamental physical characteristics of the Triceraton species. For instance, he had thick skin, a little single horn on his nose, and 2 huge horns above his eyes. Like all Triceratons, he was enormous and well built. He wore a black military suit and a badge on his right chest to indicate his rank within the Triceraton Armada. His little broken horn and steel prosthetic beak gave him away. His body was adorned with several scars and wounds, including one over his right eye, which he'd sustained while serving as a military commander for many years. Mozar was a crafty and vicious military leader who sought to eliminate the opposition at any cost. Mushroom. Mushroom is one of Old Hob's 3 very young weasels, and she made her first appearance in issue number 102 of the IDW universe. She has a scarf on and is brown in color. Despite the fact that Hob reared Mushroom as a daughter, he'd intended to trade her for food, supplies, and winter clothing that were in short supply in Mutant Town, along with the 2 weasels, Zinc and Zana, to Oroku Karai's Foot Clan. As a result, Mushroom and the other weasels were locked up in a wooden crate to await shipment, but the furious Diamond set them free. They promptly left to look for food, which they eventually discovered at Alopex's shelter. As they moved through the streets, they left a trail of trash. They soon came across Lita, who demonstrated how to make snowballs to her new pals. They were later discovered by Old Hob and Koya, and Hob quickly trapped the weasels in a net. Sally Pride, Jennica, and Mona Lisa, who were outraged by him trafficking infant mutants, rescued Mushroom and the other 2. Despite this betrayal by her father figure, Mushroom accompanied her new pals back to the shelter, seeming to enjoy the favorable attention. Later, Zana, Zinc, and Lita were all spotted at the Turtles' new dojo, along with Mushroom, seemingly happy and at peace. Pepperoni. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time Issue 1, Raphael and Pepperoni, a young Protoceratops, were captured together, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle took the young dinosaur under his wing, or in this case, under his shell. He gave her a name and a mask made out of his sports wraps. Despite their close bond, Pepperoni remained in the Cretaceous era after the Turtles departed. However, she made a triumphant comeback in TMNT, Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything, donning a red scarf created from Raphael's mask. She came back to the present to reside with Raphael after the events of that tale. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Universe Issue 10, Teenage Mutant Ninja Pepperoni, Pepperoni tells a fantasy tale in which she imagines becoming mutated and fighting alongside the Turtles on their quests. She awakens from her dream and flees with one of Raph's Sai as Alopex and Raph watch her go off to train in anticipation of the day that will come. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Secrets of the Ooze by Sophie Campbell, the comic's creator, also features Pepperoni. Milo. In the IDW canon, Milo is one of the Purple Dragons. For those who don't know, the Purple Dragons are a street gang that hangs out in the areas close to the Second Time Around store. The Turtles first ran into Milo after Michelangelo and Angel Bridge got into a fight in front of Second Time Around. Milo was quickly intimidated by Donatello, and although he was unwilling to engage in combat with the Foot Clan, he went to the building where the Turtles were meeting them. Notably, Milo is a Spanish adjective that can mean bad, evil, mean, or even badass in more recent slang, alluding to his personality. Arnold Attila the Hun Jones fought Milo in the Hun Micro Series issue, and Milo later joined Hun when he assumed control of the Purple Dragons. Milo was also one of the Purple Dragons who attacked Casey Jones during the Chasing Phantoms arc and was vanquished. He then joined Jones's group of supporters. Renee. Renee, also known as Renee Tilly, is a juvenile timstress who is an ally of the Ninja Turtles and an apprentice of Lord Simultaneous. As anxious and curious as she was, she had little interest in studying. When Renee was acting foolish one day out of boredom, she first encountered the Turtles. Out of boredom, she'd stolen the Time Scepter from her master, and when she was caught by him, she responded to his threats right away by using the Scepter of the Sands of Time of Lord Simultaneous to go to Earth, more precisely to New York City in 1986, where she chanced upon the Turtles. After making friends with the Turtles, Renee was startled when Simultaneous suddenly showed up, looking for her. She and the Turtles ran from him, landing in 1406 AD, directly in the middle of a castle siege. The warriors of Cerebrus the Aardvark, who were searching for some scrolls that Romero had stolen, were besieging the castle, which belonged to the black mage Cervantes Romero, a former but banished student of Simultaneous. In the end, she and the Turtles had to be saved by Simultaneous himself, and Renee went back to being his mischievous yet brilliant student. Renee was eventually able to focus on her exam, and she gradually increased her role's responsibility and the importance of the tasks she needed to do. She eventually rose to the position of Mistress of All Time, which she holds at the moment. Creaser. A mutant python named Creaser first appeared toward the conclusion of Service Animals Part 1. She's a product of Null Group, a business conglomerate with hands in many ventures in various dimensions, and was called by Zodi, another Null Group employee, to help ward off Raphael and Alopex's intrusion. It's important to note that she's not been as thoroughly indoctrinated into Null's beliefs because of how recent her mutation is. In sharp contrast to Zodi's overtly sociopathic demeanor, Creaser has a working conscience and the ability to empathize with others. As a result, Alopex was successful in persuading Creaser to support her and Raphael so that they might release the stolen pets that Null intended to utilize for mutation. She accomplishes this by closing in around Zodi and revealing where the animals were kept. Creaser, however, declines to travel to freedom with Alopex and Raphael. Later, Null intends to chastise Creaser for permitting the animal extraction, but Zodi stands up for Creaser and tells Null that everything that happened that night was her responsibility. Null permits this despite being aware of what Zodi has done. When they're apart, according to Zodi, it's because they're both a part of the same program. Zodi added that Creaser, despite being undertrained, would still be a huge help. She had the ability to constrict her victims, which was believed to be useful by Zodi. Zodi. By now you're probably wondering who Zodi is. Well, Zodi is a mutant scorpion who is sociopathic in nature and works for Madame Null. The CEO of the Null Group, a multifaceted corporation with connections to various dimensions, is Madame Null. Prior to the mutanimals forcing them to stop, the Null Group experimented with hybrid combinations in an effort to generate and commercially exploit mutants. Mutagen Man, Sally Pride, Man Ray, Dreadmon, and good old Zodi were notable creations by the Null Group. Zodi plays a significant role in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe first film, The War to Come. In order to acquire confidential material, she was dispatched to the TCRI Laboratory 7 building in Queens, where she was being followed by Jonathan Bishop and the Darkwater soldiers he'd hired. Before coming across the Turtles, Zodi killed a member of security personnel, narrowly avoiding them, and was nearly thrown out of a window by Raphael. Her strengths lie in unarmed hand-to-hand combat, tactical expertise, and stealth, and the fact that she's pretty much deranged makes her a terrible opponent because there's absolutely no reasoning with her. Dragon. In the IDW canon, the Dragon is a posthumous villainous character. He was the divine father of all 8 Pantheon members and the Dreamer's sibling. Brahma's dual personality, the Dreamer to uphold and the Dragon to destroy, led to the creation of the Dragon and the Dreamer. In an effort to better understand their omniscient father, the siblings grew apart from him and turned into makers of creation themselves. The dragon, however, was never content, and to relieve his nonconformity, his sister assisted him in creating a pantheon of demigods that were intelligent and strong enough to influence and intervene in the order of creation. In the afterlife, the dreamer later changed back to an infant form inside a tree and continued to dream and experience human existence. The dragon was unable to accept this and entered her dreams, causing people to commit some of their most heinous crimes throughout history, her nightmares. The soul of Takeshi Tetsuo, who subsequently underwent reincarnation as Orokusaki, was created by the dreamer as a prison for him, keeping him chained to the cycle of death and rebirth that all living things experience. In Leonardo's dreams, the dragon momentarily makes an appearance and refers to himself as the future that flames. He tried coming to life and leading Earth toward destruction, but was finally vanquished by the joint efforts of Splinter and Saki.
Schemes for power, but offering opportunities for revenge.
Draco. Another dragon, Draco, was a red-skinned Asiatic-style dragon, hailing from the planet Draconia, who was an enemy of the Turtles and particularly had a rivalry with Splinter. Draco was previously a rival in the Battle Nexus, and while his actual beginnings are still mostly unclear, his history since becoming a participant in Battle Nexus is known and recorded. He and many other combatants from time, space, and even other dimensions were chosen by the daimyo many years ago to participate in a battle in the Battle Nexus. Draco advanced to the finals, but in the decisive round, he faced Splinter, who was competing in the competition for the first time. Splinter had a leg injury during the fight, but he was able to recover and defeat the large lizard all on his own. The next night, when Splinter wasn't expecting it, Draco ambushed him with assassins out of vengeance at his earlier defeat. However, Splinter had help from Miyamoto Usagi, a courageous young ronin, as well as from the ultimate daimyo, who used the war staff to chase Draco and his assassins away to avert a worse situation. Draco ran away and was missing for several years. He later returned in search of the daimyo's war staff and to get revenge on Splinter. Interestingly, this character was specifically developed for the 2003 animated TMNT series. This tough dragon was able to use any weaponry he wanted, and obviously, as a large winged beast, was a terrible threat to opponents. Zhang Feitong. The head of the triad known as the Ghost Boys is none other than badass criminal Zhang Feitong. In Cityfall Part 4, she makes her first appearance as an anonymous cameo during a gathering of New York City crime bosses, but in the Bebop and Rocksteady micro-series issue, she plays a much bigger part. In the course of this issue's events, Karai met with Zhang to make sure she would be present for the Shredder's planned gathering of underworld figures because he had plans for the Ghost Boys. However, unknown to Shredder, Zhang was secretly preparing to murder him. However, Rocksteady and Bebop's careless slaughter of Zhang's supporters outside ended the conference. She said that she would not submit to Shredder and left, thinking that this was a premeditated act of betrayal. She was then being hunted by Rocksteady and Bebop, who eventually caught up with her, but she was able to avoid them long enough to leave the building. However, once she got outside, the cops were waiting for her. Zhang eventually traveled to Houston, where she founded the new Ghost Boys. She came across Rocksteady and Bebop, who had recently undergone mutations, and she told her soldiers to use the ghost bots to murder them. Having previously faced Zhang, Agent Ravenwood arrived and defeated her with ease, marking the end of her activities as we know it.
I can handle anything that comes my way.
Bowmaster. Heroic archer Bowmaster attempted to join the Justice Force in the TMNT universe. He made an appearance in the 2003 TV series and was one of 3 aspirants who applied to join the Justice Force when the group decided to increase the number of its members, along with Moleculo and Gauntlet. Despite their noble intentions, Scipilad harshly reprimanded all 3 of them, telling them that their technology alone wouldn't make them heroes. Later, Baxter Stockman had just accidentally put Nano back together, but due to a botched reprogramming attempt, his judgment was clouded, causing him to fluctuate between trying to contact the Justice Force for assistance and then assaulting them. He initially encountered Bowmaster and his allies who, with the exception of Moleculo, promptly engaged in combat with him. Despite his best efforts, Bowmaster was promptly taken out by Nano's artificial body after his arrows failed to penetrate it. Post this, it's unclear if Bowmaster was ever given membership in the Justice Force. As far as his weapon of choice is concerned, the quad-grooved crossbow that Bowmaster uses enables him to fire up to 4 arrows at once. His 2 quivers are filled with a variety of high-tech arrows, some of which have explosive tips. His arsenal's full capabilities, though, are still a mystery. Bloodsucker. Last but not least, we have Bloodsucker from the first Mirage comics. Bloodsucker is a foe of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Raphael's blood played a key role in the creation of this beast. Before Donatello, Leonardo, and Michelangelo decided to employ Bloodsucker to get back at Raphael, who had been defying Splinter and had halted their training, it was just a regular leech. The other turtles agreed to force Raphael to let the leech drink from his blood because Raphael was frightened of leeches, to scare him. Raphael, however, began to de-evolve back into a typical pet turtle after Bloodsucker took some of the mutagen from him in the process of sucking his blood. The leech, on the flip side, started mutating into a monstrous humanoid leech. Later, Bloodsucker consumed the remaining mutagen from Raphael, and to return the mutagen back to Raphael, the other turtles finally made the decision to catch Bloodsucker. They eventually located Bloodsucker and engaged it in combat. Raphael, who at this point resembled a typical pet turtle, began biting Bloodsucker during the conflict, emptying the mutagen that had been taken from him. Once Raphael reclaimed all of his mutagen from Bloodsucker, he was back to his former self, narrowly averting disaster. Raphael then released Bloodsucker back into the river from where it had been captured, after it changed back into a typical leech. However, a slight lust for turtle blood remained with the leech. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a franchise that spans decades, and has seen various characters of all shapes, sizes, and abilities either fight the turtles or ally with them. Each of these characters is interesting in their own right. Did we miss out on any iconic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle characters? Let us know in the comments section below.